what's going on, guys? How we doing this evening? It is 9:13, and we are going to do our weekly recap like we've been doing on every Wednesday, so everyone can get caught up on their shows. Then we can get the full recap on our shows, and we are ready to rock and roll. First, we're going to bring in Miss Melissa. What's happening,
Hey,
Melissa?
everybody.
How are you?
I'm great, actually, Adam. I got a really special gift in the mail today, so I'm in a very good mood.
Sweet. Good. All right. Next, we're going to bring in our Buffalo man, Mr. Joe. What's up, Joe?
Not much. Very happy got out of the house finally after the worst blizzard of my life, and again I'm done with snow forever. But good to be here. Thanks
You're
for
in
having me
Buffalo.
on.
You're never going to be done with snow.
Yeah, it might not be here much longer if if this keeps up.
You probably say this every year, though.
Probably, but now instead of thinking and dreaming about it, I'm in active planning mode after this week.
Well, I'm just
Florida
glad
it
that you're
is, huh?
safe and sound, because the way people have been talking about what's going on up there, it's been scary to watch and worry about people who live up there.
Right. I mean, again, most of us are good, most of us are safe, but I think most of us are fed up as well. So, yeah, Florida sounds really good right now.
All right. Let's next we're going to bring in the Corner Booth 617 regular guest. I invited him on tonight, Daniel. What's happening, man?
Hey everybody, how we doing?
Good.
No snow
Good.
here, but I'm not hoping for any.
And next, we're going to bring in the warmer section of the world, Logan.
I'm fine. Don't worry, this is legal.
Oh, Jesus, Logan. And while we were bringing in the intro, I am pleased to introduce my buddy Chase from Belly Up Sports. What's
How we doing?
happening, buddy?
Not much.
Hi,
Good to
Chase.
see you again. Good to be here again. Yeah, hey,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
How
How
you
are-
doing, Dan? Yeah, no, we're here. Happy to be here. Just got off the air with my show, but yeah, I'll echo what Melissa said, Joe. We're glad to see you safe and sound up there. We know it's been tough up there. We've got snow in Northwest Wisconsin too, but we didn't have anything near what you guys had. So glad to see you doing well.
You do your podcast out of a bar?
Oh, this is my home bar. This is the Mott & Bailey Basement Bar. This is where I come to people from every Wednesday night and Sunday morning. So here it is. Yeah.
I will be at your house tonight, and we will be drinking that bar empty.
You'll fly up. Go on out. Yep. Yep. No, this is the basement bar. This is where I do my podcast from. Like I said, I just got off the air over at Belly Up with Belly Up Fantasy Football Live. So, but I'm here. Yeah, I'm here to talk a little bit more football. So, good to see
Are
you.
you still alive in any of your fantasy there, Mr. Chase?
I am going for one championship this weekend. I'm in a bunch of three third place games as well. I made the semifinals in quite a few leagues, but had some bad luck last week, and I had a lot of exposure to the same guys. I didn't diversify myself probably enough, following my own rankings. So, but I am up for one championship still this weekend, and like I said, up for a few money slots in the third place games. So, yeah, still going strong, and we still got this week and possibly next weekend, depending on what kind of league you're in for fantasy purposes. So,
I am in the same boat you are. One championship, one third place. Oh, and Evan has just.
hey,
I believe he's there.
Hey, what's up?
Maybe. Is he there? There he is. Talking about the lake, buddy. What's going on?
Can you hear me?
Hi, Evan.
Not much. What's up with everybody? How's everybody doing?
I'll be doing a lot better if Cleveland can win this weekend.
Oh, right. Fantasy.
Yeah,
football stuff.
I'm a Browns fan anyway, but if Cleveland
We'll
could
get
beat
into that.
freaking Commander Skins or whatever the hell they're called, then I'll be feeling really good. So,
I I think we will.
Yeah, I think you should. I think you will too. They got Carson Wentz going at quarterback, so what the hell? Riverboat Ron taking too big a gamble.
Yeah, but that.
All right, kids, let's kick this thing
Yeah,
off with
I'm just
the
worried about our
now,
defensive line.
Yeah, that's true.
the now first place Jaguars, which I never thought I'd be saying this year. Did anyone else pick the Jaguars?
Nope.
No, but
Trevor
I also
Lawrence.
didn't. But I also didn't think that the Titans were going to repeat, and I definitely didn't believe in the Colts this year. So
No, it's not the biggest shock. It's not the biggest shock in the world. And beating the Jets is not the biggest shock in the world either, despite their, relative success this season. Yeah. That was a good game though. I mean, Jacksonville looks like a legitimate football team. They look like an actual pro football team.
Took Trevor Lawrence a little bit to get out of the gate, but he looks like he's getting around. I think the pickup of Evan Ingram was huge for them. They're finally I know Melissa hates that word right there, but Evan Ingram is having a good year this year with Trevor Lawrence.
Not much of a difference in coaching, is there?
Oh, for Christ. Yeah.
Be-
Right? Right? Man, night and damned day. It's not like, it's not like they didn't have talent on the roster last season, but good
Right.
God.
They just
Yeah.
had chaos.
Yeah. Urban needs to stay at the bar and stay away from the sideline. Probably needs to stay away from the bar too, would be dead honest with everybody. But God dang it. Doug Peterson has just worked wonders with that team. I mean, good for him. Good for him.
Doug Peterson is a very good head coach.
Absolutely.
He's proving that.
Yeah, no, I think I mean, and it's perfect because the dude played quarterback, and he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys. He was never a great starter, obviously in a league. He started enough. He started for teams. Started for Cleveland. Started for Green Bay a couple times, but he's a guy that he stuck around forever because he knew the game. He was intelligent at the game. So A, he knows freaking football. B, he's played the quarterback position. Well, who else do you want mentoring your number one overall pick, young guy in Trevor Lawrence, than a guy who played the position in the league for so damn long and is intelligent about the game as a whole? Plus, he's just brought so much stability to that
And he's a Super Bowl
organization.
coach.
Right.
Jeez. Doug Peterson. Good for you, dude.
Right? Any other thoughts on this game? I didn't get to watch it. I was at work, so I did not. I saw the final score. I figured I would work longer, and I wasn't really intrigued by this game too much. So,
Well, I got a question for everybody. What do we think? Who do we think is coming out of the South? We know that tomorrow. We know that this weekend doesn't necessarily mean anything for the South because it all comes down to who wins between the Titans and the Jaguars next week. But the Jaguars are still alive for a wild card berth too, which is why they're actually going to play everybody this weekend, unlike the Titans. Does anybody have faith that it's going to be Jacksonville that comes out of this, or does anybody have faith that it's going to be Tennessee coming out of it?
I have faith in Jacksonville. It's just,
Yeah,
I think,
Doug Peterson's
I
gonna-
think, with Taylor Lewan hurt again, I think with Derrick Henry now having a new fumbling issue, and I think with Ryan Tannehill out and the way Tennessee is just fallen apart ever since they beat the Packers on Thursday Night Football,
Right.
I think their season's just done.
Dude, I'm 5'5", but they released a list of Titans today longer than I am tall who aren't going to play tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I don't have any confidence in them either. Does anybody else think anything about whether they
just
think
think you
actually
got-
Tennessee can do it?
You got two different teams trending in two different directions. I think if the Titans had Tannehill, based on past experience, coaching, etc., I would give them a chance. But without him, they're just trending in the wrong direction. Jacksonville just gaining more confidence every week, and I, at this point, see them coming out of the division.
Well, I mean, the Jaguars have kind of an easier road, right? I mean, they play the Texans and then the Titans.
Yeah.
Titans play the Cowboys this week, who,
Yeah.
they're not the easiest team to beat, but, according to the Jaguars, they're the easiest team to beat Whatever. I don't care about that game.
It took a walk off. It took a
Oh,
walk off
geez.
pick six for
Oh,
them to beat that
gosh.
easy ass team. But
Yeah. So I think the Jaguar, it's really theirs to lose. So
yeah, no, I think that. Yeah, man, I'm psyched up to see the end of that. It's weird because I mean, it's not like either one of them are superstar teams, but like you said, Joe, man, just going in opposite directions. Jacksonville feels like one of those teams that if they sneak in, man, I wouldn't want to see them.
Right.
With the way that Lawrence has come on lately, and yeah, I would not want to see that team in the playoffs.
That's what a lot of people are saying about that shirt you're wearing there, Brett, and there, Chase. A lot of people don't want to see that
Right?
team in the playoffs.
They're coming
getting
together
on
at the
now
right
now,
time.
too.
Right.
They are coming together at the right damn time. I'm psyched up about that. Plus, I think they can make it in. I think they, even though they still need help, I think they're going to get that help. It's whether they hold up their own end of the bargain and beat the damn Vikings this weekend.
That's like the heavy question going around San Francisco. Like, do they want Melissa, that's up your alley there. So which one? Have you thought about it? Do you want the Packers to beat the Vikings to have that shot at second, or do you want the Vikings
Okay.
to win to get rid of A-Rod?
So my vengeful heart says I want Aaron Rodgers to make the playoffs because I want to kick him out of the playoffs again. Just because of tradition, and it pisses off my brother.
They've been good at that. Yes, they've been very freaking good at that. West.
And it'll shut him up because he's never beaten the Niners in the playoffs. So that's just like a vengeful part of my heart enjoys that tremendously because my brother's a dickhead. But at the same time, I really want to see the Lions get into the playoffs. I think they've really bounced back from being 1-6. I think there's just something special about Amon-Ra St. Brown. The Lions haven't been in the playoffs in so long. I think them and the Jets have the longest drought into getting into the playoffs. So I want to see the Lions win, but the only way the Lions win is if the Packers don't win out. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn.
Did anybody watch Hard Knocks this season with the Lions?
I did.
Did you guys catch any of that? Oh my dude. Yeah, I'm a big Packer fan. And I'm like, I kind of want the Lions to win. Right? I mean, I don't want them to beat us for the playoffs, but if they made it in, say the Packers lose this weekend, I mean, I'd be all about the Lions making a run. They just came across as so likable. The
crazy part was my mom watched it with me, right? She wanted to marathon the whole show.
Sure.
So she locked eyes on Malcolm Rodriguez as soon as he did the salsa dance because she kind of fell in love with Victor Cruz for the same thing, and that became her guy. And then she started rooting for the Lions, and every week she rooted for the Lions. They ended up losing, and then as soon as she gave up on the Lions, that's when they started winning again.
Skyrocket. That dude's good too. For being as not touted as he was coming to the league, yeah, Rodrigo, he's pretty good. But I agree with you. I wouldn't mind seeing the Lions win for the same reason I was happy that Stafford got a Super Bowl ring last year. He just suffered for so damn long. If the Packers can't make it, I wouldn't mind seeing Detroit go on a run. But until it's over,
you'll be able to cheer in division, Chase.
Yeah. I mean, I'm never going to cheer for the Vikings, but the Lions have been so irrelevant. I mean, I don't want the Vikings to win. I don't want the Bears to win. I don't give a flip who they're playing. Last week, I wanted the Vikings to win just because it was good for the Packers' playoff chances. But I'm not going to cheer for them. But Detroit's been so just nobody gives a flip about them for so long. They've been so inept and so you didn't have to worry about them. I wouldn't mind.
The only thing that people seem to respect out of Detroit for the last couple of years is either Barry Sanders, whenever Barry Sanders shows up somewhere, and Calvin Johnson getting into the Hall of Fame. And then even that didn't get enough respect because they booed the entire ceremony because they were pissed off at the Ford family. So
it
is what it is.
So while we're on the Lions, I just moved to the Lions game this weekend just to let everyone know. I skipped the Baltimore game because we were not talking about it. So is Carolina improving? Are they gonna sneak in and take this division in the South, or is Tom Brady gonna hold on?
They can't win without Baker Mayfield. Duh.
Good for that dude too, by the way.
Well, you're
I
talking
don't
about
know.
a team, talking about one team making the playoffs, the Detroit Lions. If I'm the Lions, you can't make the playoffs losing to Carolina. I'm not sold on Carolina. I don't think they're that good. I don't think they overtake Tampa. I keep having this recurring nightmare where Tampa makes the playoffs at 8-9, and all of a sudden Brady becomes 23 again and
Right.
goes on a run. I just pray to God that doesn't happen. But if you're the Lions and you want to make the playoffs, you don't lose to Carolina.
Okay, so
I saw an internet like a Ravens fan posted that they beat the whole division, and I started thinking, and I was like, wait, the Steelers beat the Saints, Steelers beat Carolina. We did the same thing. We beat the whole AFC South too. I mean,
Everyone's
NFC
beating
South
the AFC
as
South
well.
except the AFC South. None of them wants to beat each other. Like none of them wants to win that freaking division.
Right.
They're the only ones that don't want to win. Everybody else is like, frick yeah.
Like, is this
NFC
the
South
first
game
year
is
two rookie quarterbacks beat Tom Brady in the same year? Brock Purdy and
It would be interesting.
and,
Purdy could do it. Yeah, Purdy was that was awesome to see.
Dan,
But,
do you know
like,
these stats by chance? Do you know this?
I mean, it probably hasn't happened much, but I mean, I guess it's possible. Nothing off the top of my head. Maybe Mark Sanchez beat him twice in the same season. That's maybe the only one. No, I think
Yeah, when
they
they were on
split.
that back-to-back championship game run that they had. in New
Yeah,
York.
I think they split that season though, but then he beat him in the playoffs.
Right.
So maybe. Or
No, Joe,
actually, I don't
agree
think they
with you,
even
though.
made the playoffs that year.
I
But
agree
even
with Joe
so,
about the run, though. I mean, would anybody be shocked if Tom Brady went on a run from the
No, not
first
really.
6th or 7th seed?
Not at all.
Or not? He wouldn't be.
I
a sixth.
would.
He'd have to be a 4th seed, but
I would.
you'd be shocked.
Yes, because
It'd be
that offensive
mildly
line.
surprising.
No, I'd be absolutely shocked because that offensive line is decimated. Him and Mike Evans are still not right. Vita Vea is injured, and that team is so much more inconsistent than the Panthers or the Lions, who I think are less talented. It baffles me that if anyone thinks that Brady can go on a run at this point, if he gets in.
Those conditions, in my mind, make it more likely. Just the way
Yeah.
things go for him, you know, it's you
Yeah, but-
wouldn't expect it, and it
Horseshoe
shouldn't
up
happen.
his golden ass. Yeah.
You're
Also,
totally
if he
right.
re-signs Gronkowski.
But
It
Joe,
shouldn't
aren't you like a little jaded because I mean you guys are just used to Brady owning the AFC East?
Oh, of course. I've seen that movie 100 times. And again, there's so many times where he shouldn't have won. And this was wrong with his team. And he had no receivers and he had no offensive line and he still went off. So I think you're right and I hope you're right, but it wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me.
All right, fair enough.
Did you guys see? I think it was Troy Aikman who said it. Who said like the NFC South shouldn't even make the playoffs because they're so bad.
Not wrong.
And he said you should just give it to the NFC East because you know the Cowboys, Giants, and Eagles are better than those guys.
No, he's not wrong. Literally, all 4 teams in the East are still alive for the damn playoffs. One
Like,
of
they
them's
could
going to
be-
be at home.
They could be below 500 and still make the
What
playoffs.
this
That just
happened
seems
before,
wrong.
though. I think it was the the
2 years
AFC
ago.
North that happened.
We've had
It
a
happened
couple.
No.
We've had a couple of below 500 teams that have won divisions and made the playoffs.
It happened 2 years ago in the NFC East.
Yeah.
Every team was under
Exactly.
500 there.
Wasn't Beastquake?
That's what it was.
Wasn't
yeah.
the
I remember
Beastquake
that.
game? Wasn't Seattle below 500 when they hosted the Saints for the Beastquake game?
Yep.
Weren't they 7-9 that year, but won the West? And that's
Yeah.
why they
Yep.
were even hosting that game in the first place.
And they won it.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I mean,
But
they
yeah,
could do it.
Washington won the division 2 years ago at 7-9, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I
So-
remember that. Yeah.
So you're saying Troy Aikman of all people said that? That's
I think
a little
it was
hilarious.
Troy Aikman.
That's
Someone said it.
hilarious. That's hilarious that a former Cowboy is saying that because they just want to host a freaking playoff game so badly, and their division has been called the NFC least for years.
Right.
And right now they're the best division in the NFL, right?
I believe so.
So I
After
mean,
just 2 years.
Like I said,
But-
they're all 4 teams are still alive for playoff berths. I don't think any other division can say that right now, can they?
No.
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 By
But,
the way,
go ahead.
I may be considered
3
the
weeks-
Cowboys fan, but I have
3 weeks
no
ago, I had to
bias
say the
right here.
AFC
I don't
East.
give a flying fuck about the Cowboys. I really don't. Like, I honestly, I watch the game and I can predict every play that happens. Oh, they're
Welcome to
They're
Mike
running-
McCarthy ball, friend.
yeah, they have 5 minutes left. Oh, I bet you they don't try to run the clock down. They're going to try to give the Eagles as many chances to win this fucking game as many times as possible. And by golly,
It's
They
first
did.
down. Let's run it. Stuff. It's second down. Let's run it. Stuff. It's third down and long. Let's pass it. Punt. Oh, next drive. It's first down. Let's run. Stuff. Second down. Stuff. Third down. Let's pass. Next drive. We're going to button hook them all by going play action. No,
Oh,
dipshit. All
goodness.
80,000 people in the stands and all 4.2 million on TV know what you're doing.
gosh.
Mike McCarthy won us a Super Bowl, so I respect the dude that way. He's obviously better at football than I am, or he'd be the one here talking about it, and I'd be the one getting ready for tomorrow night's game. But
I
like,
think I have that towel up here somewhere, Brent.
shit,
Hey,
yeah,
I
no.
have that
Welcome to
terrible
Mike
towel of
McCarthy
that Super
football,
Bowl.
dude.
Hey, do you have no timeouts left and there's 16 seconds left in the fourth quarter and you're fit on the 50-yard line? Let's run it right
Run
down the
it.
middle. Yeah.
No
Let's not
one's
even try to
expecting
pass
that.
it. Yeah.
No one's expecting it because it's not going
Dak-
to freaking work, dude.
Dak Prescott coming off an ankle injury can definitely run that.
Oh my god.
Oh man, I don't have to deal with that shit anymore. That's good. I don't mind watching you guys struggle with it either.
Oh, but
I
by the
don't
way,
know.
I don't feel like Troy Aikman is very biased. I think he likes good football. I don't like I think at this point he's just like, who gives a like I don't think he thinks there's a legitimate shot of the Cowboys winning a Super Bowl. I mean, I guess there is a little bit of a shot, but it's not a real shot.
They've got the
So-
defense for it.
Do they though?
They just don't have the coach. Like, they don't have the coach for it.
Yeah.
They just don't. They don't have the
All
coach
right,
for it. To be dead honest with everybody.
Okay.
So
I
does
guess we
Hey,
anyone
should
there's
talk
the,
about
there's the
Falcons
Baltimore game. Nothing wrong with some Falcons talk. That's not my kids, by the way, everybody. Mine are both upstairs.
It's the sweatshop I'm working out back.
Fewer conversations, more sweatshirts back there.
Quit
Well, I
talking.
need to start Tyler Algier, so I really don't want to talk about this because he was worth more than my running back I started.
Tyler Algier, I like going. I mean, I come at everything from a fantasy bias because that's what I do. I write about fantasy and talk about it. But I like Tyler Algier. I liked him as a pickup for them. They've got some good, fun young players. I guess we're going to figure out if Desmond Ridder can actually play quarterback here over the last couple of weeks of the season. But I mean, between London and Pitts, if he's healthy, as long as Smith figures out to actually throw the ball to their best weapons, between Algier, Pitts, and London, they've got a good solid base for position players going forward. That's a team that this
They
isn't
can
their
figure out what to
year.
do with Cordell Patterson too.
Right, yeah, I mean, he's older than me. Not really, but you know, if they can figure out that quarterback position, whether Ridder nails it down or whether they go out and actually find it a legitimate one, and if they can build their offensive line just a little bit, man, that's a pretty damn good trio to have between Algier, London, and Pitts for an offensive foundation. They need to figure out how to use their best weapons because they haven't seemed to do that yet. Does anybody actually watch the Falcons?
No.
I did not.
We're all like, no, not if I can't help it.
I didn't. Well, I might have watched it if it was on. If it was on regular TV. I did. I don't remember Saturday. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't end up going to the Steelers
No,
game on
I-
Saturday. I was highly irritated.
The Falcons are one of the teams you watch if they're on Thursday, Sunday, or Monday night, where the NFL's like, look, you have to watch. Like the Broncos.
They're not in a lot of those games, though.
Yeah, no, the Falcons have not been, but the Broncos got shoved down our throats every chance they could.
Yeah,
get.
the Broncos did. Yeah.
Didn't it seem like every week
the
the past
NFL owes us like another year.
God,
Holy
man, we had to
cow.
watch Broncos every goddamn primetime night. They were
Yeah,
on-
they
were
thought they
on
were going to
all-
be. They
Worst was
thought they
all
were
the
going to be like
Colts.
14-3.
Yeah,
The worst was all the Colts primetime games after Jeff Saturday became coach.
Oh,
As for this game, I'm just glad Jason Pierre-Paul got the win, but I really could not care less about the Falcons or the Ravens at this moment, to be honest.
Ravens are in. Falcons aren't going to make it. I mean, Ravens aren't going anywhere unless they get Lamar Mack, and even if they get Lamar Mack, they don't have anybody to throw to other than Andrews. With Duvernay out, with Bateman out, yeah, that's a rough team to watch right now. How they've got more wins than losses is beyond my.
How they're 10-5, I have no idea.
Yeah,
Matt got sick. Matt got sick today. He's the Baltimore guy, and I wish he was here to explain this because I have no idea how they're 10-5.
like, no,
I don't
Baltimore
even
is the
think
most 7-8, 10-5 team in history.
mhm.
I don't have any
isn't
idea how they're.
Bad division, I guess. I mean, that's,
now. I could be
well, not
wrong,
even
but
because the Bengals now.
isn't Baltimore a lot like what's his face? The Vikings right now, where they get a lot of like early leads and then they just like kind of like choke around the
luck
fourth
into hanging
quarter.
on. Yeah,
And then some of them they barely like hang on and win, and then other ones like that one game where Justin Tucker for the very
The
first
Miami
time like
game?
in forever was short on his field goal kick. Like I feel like that's a lot to do with it. Like it's just like been like sheer dumb luck that they pulled off some of these wins.
yeah.
Yeah, did
you know,
Justin Tucker miss 3 kicks this game or some shit?
Really? We're 16 weeks into the season, and these are probably the 2 teams that confuse me the most out of any of them. You know, the Ravens don't change game by game; they change quarter by quarter. For 2 quarters, they'll play like a Super Bowl team, and then for 2 quarters, they'll play like one of the worst teams in football. It's just you can't figure them out. I'm happy because they covered the 7.5 points in this game, and they helped me out a little bit this week. But I still can't figure this team out, and the Falcons the same. The Falcons
when Lamar went down last week, or when Lamar went down last year, Tyler Huntley actually acquitted himself pretty well for like 2-3 weeks, but he's been terrible.
Yeah, he hasn't been as good as he was, and I guess maybe people figured him out from which they hadn't figured him out last year, and he played well in the beginning.
Yeah.
But the Falcons are another team. It's like, which is this an up and coming? We should watch this team. Sometimes they play that way, and sometimes they play like they're never going to change.
Yeah. Well, it's a team that can't figure out to throw the frickin' ball to Kyle Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Drake London, and Drake London's a good receiver. I like him a lot. I think he's got all the tools. He's got all the physical traits. He's got everything you need to be a success in the NFL, except for someone to throw him the damn football.
Right.
And a coach that'll figure out to call the plays for it. But yeah, between him and Pitts, I mean, if that team gets any quarterback that can throw the ball, period, whether it's Ritter or someone else, and I'm not convinced it's Ritter, but if they figure out how to throw the goddamn football, I mean like you said,
pick
is this an
Ritter
up and
going
coming
to
team?
the Falcons in draft day. I just didn't pick the right round.
Oh, for real? Yeah, well,
Yeah, I picked them. I picked them going number what? They had the 6th pick. I had him going number 6, but he went in the 5th round instead.
And see, that's the thing is there's a reason dudes like that slip. I mean, if he was a 1st round type talent, now you get Russell Wilson going in the 3rd round occasionally. Things like that happen, and Tom Brady we talked about, but like, there's a reason Desmond Ritter slipped and did not get taken in the first 6 picks and barely got taken in the first 6 rounds. But if they can find someone to, I mean, just Kyle Pitts and Drake London both have catch radiuses of like 18.5 yards too. So like, just put the ball in the air somewhere in their direction. But if they can figure that out, and I mean, they could be a fun team to watch going forward. That's a team that I could see having one of those fun, explosive offenses in just a year or 2 here. Right. But they've got to do the right damn thing. They've got to find the quarterback to do it, and they've got to get an offensive line that can block for more than 1.3 seconds so that whoever's back there throwing can throw.
Right.
All right. Joe, we're going to move on to the next game, which is your game.
Hey.
All right. Well, one of those business as usual games. If you look at the stats for what you have on here, they're not the most impressive stats out there. You know, Josh Allen didn't throw for a lot of
Stephon
yards.
Diggs almost screwed me.
He was not even targeted in the first half, which is extremely surprising. But again, you look at the stats; they're not pretty, but they just got the job done. The crazy thing for the Bills, and we may have talked about this in previous shows, is that all of a sudden they have a running game now. Singletary had over 100.
We talk about James
What a
Cook all
great
the
game
time,
for
Joe.
both of them.
Right. And James Cook is from the beginning one of my favorite running backs in the league, and I was hoping he'd get to the point where he's the primary guy, and maybe not the primary guy right now, but he's definitely being used more and more. And
Hey,
making
but that's
impact.
first
That
world
opening
problems
day
though, because
fumble,
Devin Singletary's not old.
No.
They've got
No, he's
two
a
good
third-year player,
young
right?
running backs now.
Yeah, and he's shown significant improvement. Singletary has. I always thought he was decent, but again, statistics wise, and again, that was the one weakness in the Bills' offense was the running game. But now all of a sudden, one guy over 100-yard, one guy close. They have one of the best 1-2 tandems out there right now.
Yeah. No, and yeah, I'm really excited to see what they can do going forward with that. I mean, it's running back. It's one of those interchangeable positions they always talk about. But yeah, you've got a couple of dudes who I mean, Singletary's only 23, 24. He's not an old running back.
He's only in his third
And
year.
he hasn't had the
Right.
workload. He hasn't had the workload that some young backs do because they kept hemming and hawing over him and Zach Moss and whoever else they had there for so long that like Singletary's young for his age even, but you've got two good young explosive running backs now to go along with possibly the most explosive quarterback and a great 3 or 4 deep wide receiver core over there and a tight end that when they actually throw him the football is capable too. That's such a fun team to watch.
Would you
That's
put him
gonna
as
be fun
number
for them.
5 on your tight end list, Brandon, when he's being used?
What?
Chase? Sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah, Knox. No, I'm not. No,
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not a big Knox fan, but here's the thing: Dawson Knox, and I'm talking again from a fantasy standpoint, but Dawson Knox is more effective and is most effective in the red zone. And the biggest problem with him so far this year is they haven't given him the red zone looks. But when you're also scoring points from all over the freaking field with Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis and Isaiah McKenzie and Josh Allen and everybody else, they haven't necessarily needed to go to him much. But I mean, there are a few guys in the league who are as red zone dependent for their production as Knox is. But when he does get red zone looks, he produces like no one else's business. That's one of those teams where I'm shocked that they've got as many losses as they have in Buffalo. They may not end up the 1 seed. This is going to be a tough damn game. This is the best game of the weekend slate, by the way, on Monday night. They nailed this out of the park. But I mean, the Bills they've got the look of
I
the
don't
team.
even know what's
They
on
can
Monday
finally
night.
break the curse. They could finally break
Bills
the Buffalo
versus
curse.
Cincinnati.
Yep.
That's a good game, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at Cincinnati. But they are a team to look out for especially if they keep playing again. They didn't even play their best game. I know it's the Bears, but if they're going to have results like this, not playing their best game,
You put up
watch out.
35 points on a professional football team, you're doing something right. Doesn't matter what team it is.
Joe, I had a question for
Right.
you.
Sure.
What do you think now of the Stephon Diggs stuff on the sidelines? Because it feels like it's a bigger distraction. Like you're finally moving on from Josh Allen having all those awful picks in the red zone. You're finally like moving on from Gabe Davis having his drop picks and like things are getting better now that you're using Singletary and James Cook, so you're not like just using one running back.
Mhm.
And I still keep seeing Stephon Diggs making like a bigger spectacle of himself than Odell Beckham ever did fighting the Nets on the sideline.
Well, to answer the question, I'm surprised it took this long.
I'm sorry. I was trying to be polite and wait for everybody to finish talking before asking.
No, that's okay. I'm surprised it took this long. I mean, as far as Diggs being Diggs, he's been great since he's been in Buffalo. To be honest, he had the bad reputation coming from Minnesota.
Which was earned.
Right. The first couple of years.
Hey, I will be right back.
Yeah.
Okay. He earned rave reviews for the influence, the positive.
No, it's his dog.
The positive influence he had on the young players and the positive influence he had on Josh Allen. Now, however, I think we're seeing that other side. And again, that he's not the feature guy. They have such depth. They have such a well-rounded offense. And again, the running game taking shape. I think overall he's happy. And again, hopefully the team result is the one that everybody wants on the team. But,
sorry,
we're keeping an eye on that because hopefully it doesn't explode into something that distracts and takes away from the ultimate goal.
He has been so efficient. I mean, so effective over there, though. Like you said, he's definitely the definition of a diva receiver. He fits that stereotype, that mold. But man, that dude, he can play some football. And now that he and Kirk Cousins had a bit of a connection, but there's nothing like having Josh Allen throwing to you. And when you've got Davis and McKenzie and Shakir who can draw coverage off, you can't just double Stephon Diggs every play. Man, what a luxury. Right. I hope you're having fun watching that because that doesn't come around very often, even in Buffalo.
No.
Can I ask you why you have an issue with Dawson Knox?
Who, me?
Yes, you. You're the one who said you had an issue with him.
Again, like I said, I come at everything from a fantasy standpoint because I write about fantasy football. And Dawson Knox is a guy that had a lot of hype coming into the year, had a lot of hype coming into last year because he had a great fantasy season 2 years ago. But when you look at his underlying statistics, the reason that he was scoring so many fantasy points is because he was getting all of his looks and all of his scores, all of his points come in the red zone. And he's not the only player in the league that's true for, but Dawson Knox is his numbers are, I mean, if you want to do a bell curve, he is way an outlier in terms of how much of his value comes from being looked at in the red zone. And my issue isn't necessarily with him as a player. I love him as a player. And he's one of those guys that if I were starting a real life football team, I would love to have him as a tight end on my team. But for fantasy purposes, they don't give him the ball enough in the red zone to make him as effective as he could be. Dawson Knox does his best work from the 20-yard line in, not between the 20s. And the problem is they don't give him enough looks inside the 20 fantasy-wise for my preferences. However, I mean, the dude's a good tight end. And when you've got weapons like we've talked about with Diggs and Davis who can score from 80, 90 yards out on one touch anytime that they have the ball, and Shakir and Singletary and Cook who can get the ball in the end zone. Plus you've got Josh Allen who can run the ball in from the 18, 19-yard line and doesn't have to throw it to anybody. That's my issue with Dawson Knox. It's just fantasy-wise, he gets a lot more hype than I think he is owed, because people aren't necessarily looking at how he actually produces his points and how they actually run their offense in Buffalo. He's a very good player. He's a very good player. He's an upper echelon tight end in the league.
No, I agree with everything you're saying. I'm curious, is it just like Dawson Knox, or is it like a tight end like free for all you feel that way with, like George Kittle maybe, or do you feel that way about I'm drawing a blank on the name. Guy from Cleveland.
Njoku.
David Njoku.
It's been a cluster, and a half this year for the tight end position anyway in fantasy. But you bring up Kittle, and Kittle is a guy who I would contrast with Dawson Knox because Kittle can score from between the 20s and does quite often, I think. Kittle is a guy
this is the first year, and I'm a Niner fan. This is like the first year ever he's had 8 touchdowns. This is the first year. This is the first year he's had 3 games with 2 touchdowns, and 2 of them being back to back. Like, this is a huge
Kittle
deal.
is a guy, the way the 49ers run their offense, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because you obviously watch a lot more of them than I do. But
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo does not necessarily throw to Knox between the 20s. San Francisco will throw to Kittle anywhere on the field. In fact, they almost throw to him more between the 20s than they do in the red zone. But you're talking about a team, especially now with McCaffrey, that has so many offensive weapons they can dump and dink and scheme the ball to. They don't have to. Tight end's been a cluster, and a half this season. Dawson Knox is much closer to a Robert Tonyan from fantasy purposes, where he needs the red zone looks, than he is to George Kittle. Because I think Kittle and Njoku, they're closer to Travis Kelce, where he can score from anywhere on the field because he's got that kind of talent.
Yeah, Dawson Knox is valuable on third down as well. If it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10, and they need a big third down play, they often go to Dawson Knox. However, as you're saying, that's not going to show up in the fantasy stats, because it's not a touchdown. It's not he's not getting a lot of receptions. He's getting some of the biggest ones, especially where they need to pick up a first down.
Right.
And that's what makes him extremely valuable on that team. But it, like you said, it doesn't show up in the fantasy.
Real life football, I love him, but 3 catches for 34 yards and 2 first downs doesn't necessarily do a whole lot in my world.
Right.
Whereas George Kittle catching 6 out of 9 targets for 73 yards and possibly popping it in for a score, especially when it's tight end, when we're talking about how tight ends score in fantasy, that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. That's my issue with Knox. I love him as a player. Mm-hmm. It's my issue with a lot of tight ends though. I mean, I watch Robert Tonyan here. I'm like, dude's a good tight end. They just don't throw him the ball. For that matter, Josiah DeGuara, their freaking backup's a good tight end, good athletic tight end, but they don't throw him the football. If they don't throw him the football, I can't get on board with them. But it's just that's me.
Dan, I'm gonna give you. I'm moving on. Dan said he had to go at like 10 o'clock, right, Dan?
I'm getting pretty tired, honestly.
I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go off on your game.
Yeah. I'll go quick. So
let's get the stats rolling. Hold on. Let's get the stats rolling. There we go.
Well, I can say it was Bengals Patriots. First half, Patriots looked completely outclassed. I think it ended 19-0 at halftime. A couple missed extra points. Bengals, I don't know where you want to put them. I say they're probably no worse than the 3rd worst team in the AFC. Joe Burrow just came out. He's thrown it all over the field. You got nice touchdowns by T. Higgins. I think Chase scored one. I can't remember now. Irwin. That Irwin kid scored too.
Irwin had all the points.
Yeah, he looked like friggin' Wes Welter out there. Yeah.
Trent Irwin was the.
So, I mean, that's really what it was. Patriots have just looked like ass for most of the second half of the season. And at halftime, I don't know if the Bengals just took their foot off the gas or what, man, but they just kind of let the Patriots get back into it. The Patriots in the second half looked as good as they've looked in, 5-6 weeks. I'm trying to remember. I just looked. I think they blew out the Lions 6 weeks ago or so.
35-0, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, but they were like all over them on offense and defense. But the Patriots' offense has been awful all season. But this is the best second half they've had in a while anyway. And, they had a chance to actually tie it at the end of the game. And they had a, very timely fumble by Ramondre Stevenson, who's not a guy who's known for that kind of thing. And so they had a chance to beat the Bengals, but honestly, they had no business beating the Bengals. And that's just kind of the way I've been looking at it lately. The Patriots offense is terrible. They need a new offensive coordinator. They need at least 2 or 3 better players on the line. Another receiver would definitely be appreciated. Well, I think the Raiders said they're sticking with him, but I don't know. I mean, I'd take him back certainly. But
they were talking on the McAfee show today. I think it was Joe Lombardi, but he was saying that some teams, like having success on offense in the NFL is more about having an offensive system than just calling plays. And he felt like it always feels like the Patriots are just calling plays. And I'm like, well, of course, because like you said, they don't have a freaking offensive coordinator. They literally
No.
don't have one.
Some
They've
of the
got Matt
position
Patricia
coaches.
calling plays.
Yeah, there's a lot of position coaches that are coaching first time in some of these positions as well. I think Troy Brown's the only guy with half a brain who's, position coach on the offense at this point.
Right.
So, and he's only been around 2 or 3 years.
We both know
so,
Troy Brown's a good wide receiver.
yeah, and I assume he's a decent wide receivers coach, but I mean, they're not working with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins there either. So
No, they got a bunch of dudes that no one else wanted is what they've got at wide receiver. Who's the starting quarterback for them next year? Is it Zappe or is it Jones or is it someone else?
next year it's Jones, but I mean,
You think so?
His job is not safe anymore, though. I mean, if he's going to start, this was a decent game for him, but if he starts to suck again, then maybe they draft somebody else in like the 3rd or 4th round this year. I don't know, or bring in a veteran. So I honestly have no idea.
Can I
You think
ask
they're
you
going
the
to bail on
uncomfortable?
Zappe? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, can I ask you the uncomfortable question? Do you believe that Mac Jones is a dirty player because he's been going for guys' legs and knees and calves and tackling dirty? Like this is like what the 4th time this year?
It's not that many, but he has done some things like this in the past. I think he had some last year he got fined for as well. I think he definitely plays with a bit of an edge, bit on the line sometimes. I've also seen him, dive headfirst into a pile and push a guy into the end zone. I think he's just not afraid of that kind of play. But that was, certainly diving at the guy's knees last week. That was a bad look.
Chandler
pretty dirty
Jones
play
did
overall.
give him his comeuppance, though. 2 weeks
That was honestly awesome as a guy who loved Chandler Jones when he was here.
Right.
Hilarious. He didn't even really have to push him down. He just fell down
He
on
just
his own.
did because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And then my other question is, what do you think of the reports of either Brady or Garoppolo coming back to New England next year?
Brady's really feels unlikely to me if Bill Belichick is still here, especially since they hate each other. But I don't think Brady would come here when you have these, crappy offensive coaches. There is no offensive coordinator. Matt Patricia is actually the O-line coach. I don't think that's realistic that he would come back. Jimmy Garoppolo, I just said maybe you go out and try to find a veteran. He's probably the best guy who might be available. Is he a free agent next year?
I think he is because I think
yeah.
But he fits their mold better in terms of like he'll be more affordable than Brady will be. Brady's not playing anywhere for $8.50 on the hour, but Garoppolo will have to take less than quarterback market value. I think wherever he goes, he fits much more the New England mold of not overpaying for dudes.
Yeah, I think that's that might be realistic. Mac Jones would probably still be the starter, but I could see Jimmy Garoppolo being here as a backup next year. I don't think that's crazy.
So do they Garoppolo Zappe? Do they keep him for a year or two and try and trade him away since he looked at like an actual NFL quarterback for 3 games?
He did in one game that he played in. I think that was actually the Lions game we were just talking about.
Yeah.
But then he played against the Bears and he did not look good, and they put Mac Jones back in. I just don't expect that much of him. I know around the league he's kind of known as like a flash in the pan kind of guy, but he honestly, other than that one game against the Lions, I don't think he was very good.
How much did we see out of Garoppolo before they traded him, though? Before New England actually got rid of him? I'm trying to remember
he only
back.
played 2 or 3 games here as a starter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's but they've always done that. They had Jacoby Brissett, got rid of him. They had Castle, got rid of him. They've always done that with their backup dudes, which is why it wouldn't shock me to see Bailey Zappi in a different uniform in 2 years or so.
No, probably not. I don't know. He's certainly under contract next year, but they just don't value that position that much. I think Bill Belichick looks at it like there's a billion guys who can play backup quarterback. He loves himself some Brian Hoyer.
He looks at the entire roster like that, but that's part of how
Oh
he's
my
been
God.
successful.
Yeah.
I hate Brian
Um,
Hoyer.
Logan,
Brian
any
Hoyer
good thoughts
really.
over there?
I have deep hate in my heart for Brian Hoyer.
He honestly, he's not a good player.
That ending of that Patriots Bengals game was really interesting, though. Up until was it Mac
Up until
Jones
the
who
fumble.
fumbled it? Yeah,
It was
Stevenson was a running back,
Ramondre Stevenson.
they were on the 10-yard line, and I was like, man, they came back
They were
from
going
a
in.
19-0 deficit, and they could take the lead right here. And
Stevenson hangs on to that football. I think they're going in. I think they
yeah.
take that game if Stevenson held on to that football. They were just it had that feeling to it right then that like, nope, it's inevitable.
And then we're talking about, how the Bengals are, they're kind of screwed right now because, they're probably tied with the Ravens. They are tied with the Ravens if they lose this game. And, it's totally, you're probably shitting on the Bengals right now.
Right. And now
So-
we're talking about whether they should be favored rather than trailing against the Bills on Monday night at home.
Yeah.
So you're probably right there.
I think we're supposed to have nice weather too, Joe. I think it's going to be up here it's going to be in the 50s for New Year's.
Yeah, if it's going to be in the 50s
So
here,
I imagine
Monday, I'm sure in Cincinnati it should be mid 50s, if not warmer than that.
That's going to be a good game. That's going to be must-watch TV.
we're having
No, that's a great game to end the week on. The Monday night
sir.
game. Like we were saying that earlier in my show that the Monday night game is what Thursday Night Football wish they had ever. Bills, Bengals fighting for playoff positioning and a couple of teams with two of the hottest quarterbacks going right now. And
So you're trying to
gonna be a
tell
great
me
game.
you don't want to watch Broncos Colts?
I don't want anything to do with
Oh,
the
God.
Broncos. I'm so tired of watching their
Is that
asses. I
tomorrow's
don't
game?
care. No, tomorrow's Dallas
is
and
that
Tennessee,
tomorrow's
but
game?
no,
No.
Dallas and Tennessee are playing tomorrow
Tennessee's
night, but
benching
Tennessee's not
everybody.
playing anybody with an actual NFL resume, so that's not going to be a great matchup either. And the Sunday night game is Steelers. You know this. Sunday night game is Steelers Ravens, but that's probably not going to be a real high scoring.
I know that
Crazy affair
I
either,
know
so.
that for sure.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that thing from Shannon Sharp?
Should be a good game.
Where he said that like all the defensive players on the Broncos are pissed at Russell Wilson for having a private office and like 15 private parking spaces or something.
Team 3. Yeah, no, I did see that, and they should be pissed because he's getting paid as much as everybody on that side of the football combined, pretty much, and yet they're the best unit in the league and he's played like me.
Yeah. He's something.
How weird is that shit though that came out? I mean,
I don't,
he was a media and league and fan dart. Even if you didn't like the Seahawks, like people liked Russell Wilson before this season.
I didn't.
Well, yeah, well, man.
I thought he was a little overrated, but
you have a reason why you didn't like him though. But the consensus league-wise is like,
because he
whoa,
owned
this is a
he
dude.
owned the Niners too.
No,
Russell Wilson owned the
I-
Niners.
no, I hated that the very first Super Bowl that he ever attended happened to be in my home state, and he just bulldozed the Broncos, who no-showed from the very first snaps
Hells yeah, I did.
play. That had nothing to do with the Niners. That was just the Broncos just laid over and let the Seahawks just absolutely demolish them. So that is more what I have an issue with.
Well, like but
Niners
now
stuff is a
everybody else
separate
feels the same
kinda
way we
how-
do now.
Yeah.
Everybody else
So-
feels that same way. Now they're all like, oh,
And
screw
and
this
he's
guy.
been so phony and fake for years. It's nice that people are finally seeing it because you could see it with all his perfectly scripted mic'd up moments and his pressers and all this other stuff that he's been really phony
practicing
with for
calling the
years.
play in the huddle on his rehab. Like, you remember seeing that? Like, he's calling the play in the huddle, and then break. Like, dude, nobody has to do that shit on rehab. Go do some squats and work with.
Remember
the
in the offseason when everyone was like talking about how Pete Carroll was the problem and the Seahawks were crap? and Russell Wilson needed to move on to be good, and now it's the exact opposite. Well, I mean, I guess Pete Carroll and the Seahawks are still kind of crap, but
Please
whatever.
don't remind me that all of last year, all you ever heard, it wasn't about the Niners being good after starting off 3-5. It was let Russ cook, let Russ cook, let Russ cook. Like that was like the mantra everywhere. You could not escape. Let Russ cook. It was just
Well, and when
awful.
they did, they were successful, and then they got away from it again. And now this year, they haven't done anything because Nathaniel Hackett is a hack.
Is
Luckily,
it just
they
that
let-
he?
Well, he's
Is
not
it just
even there
that he
anymore.
can't throw the football? Is that the problem? Like, I don't watch Russell Wilson that much, but it seemed like he was always a running quarterback, not really a throwing
Yes,
one.
you do.
I don't watch him much. I don't. I barely watch the Cowboys. I didn't even know they were playing the Titans until I looked it up 5 minutes ago.
I wouldn't call Russell Wilson, and somebody can disagree with me on this one. I wouldn't call Wilson a rushing quarterback. I'd call him a mobile quarterback who has always been good at buying himself time to throw. He's never been one of these like run first or always schemed to run kind of guys. He's mobile enough to
not,
get open.
Okay, so Russell Wilson's not a natural runner. He's one of those little Kyler Murray, annoying little small quarterbacks that just loves running in circles and circles and circles and circles and circles and buying time until a play finally happens, and then he makes something happen, and then everyone's
You're
like,
just tired of
"Oh,
watching
look,
Bosa
Taylor."
chase him in circles. That's all.
No, I'm finally just so fed up with Russell Wilson that I can't escape him on prime time, and that the league in general just still wants to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like somebody's going to come there, whether it's Sean Payton or something, and rehabilitate his career. It's like, come on, can you just like see who he really is and just give up on him? Like
You
seriously,
can't give up on almost $250 million though now.
Yeah. How long is he signed for, too? It's like 10 years, isn't it? 8 years?
I think they have 3 more years of dead cap, and then they can finally move on from him after that.
Good luck.
Is Sean
Yeah,
Payton going
I
there
haven't looked at
next?
his- There we go. No, I don't think Peyton goes
Is
there.
Sean Payton going to end up in Denver?
Cardinals, right?
Who, Sean Payton?
Yeah. Aren't they done with that?
He is going to want to go somewhere with a younger quarterback, I think, than Russell Wilson. Yeah, Wilson signed through 2028. They don't
5
really get
years,
any
yeah.
cap savings. They don't get any really cap relief on that until 2027, and he'll be
He
39
would
years
never
old.
be able to trade that contract either.
No. They are pretty much effed on him
It's
until
over.
2027.
Right.
He is definitely their
Jeez.
starter for the next 4 seasons. Yeah,
Or at least they're going to pay him to be their starter for the next 4 seasons.
right. Yeah,
Right.
no, they're up a
Jesus.
creek. He doesn't have anything guaranteed after 2024, but it's the NFL, so that cap hit will follow him for 2 more years after that. They're screwed with him. Maybe they get a coaching staff in there that knows what the hell they're doing, and he looks halfway competent as an NFL quarterback. And plus, Javonte Williams will get healthy. They'll have a running game. They've got some decent receivers, but that contract isn't going anywhere. So they're effed with him.
I like Judy.
If
and
he doesn't
Sutton.
win
Sutton.
if he doesn't win the Super Bowl in 2013, do we consider him like? Do we hold him in such high regard like we did for the past 10 years, like we did, or do we just say, oh, he's kind of like a Derek Carr?
I think
Or
that's a
one-
good point.
Or
Yeah,
is he a one-hit wonder?
if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, I think there's no way you can hold him in the regard that he's held now. And they almost won 2. They should have won 2 Super Bowls.
See, that's the other interesting point is, if he doesn't win that Super Bowl, are we talking about him at all? But if they don't make the dumbest play call in the history of Super Bowl play calls, he's got 2 titles, and now how are we talking about him?
Right.
I mean, man, talk about a game of inches.
Yeah.
If we're honest, there's a quarterback out there that has 2 titles that beat the undefeated Patriots and still
Eli
has no respect.
Manning.
And people don't think that should be in the Hall of Fame. So 2 titles
Eli
really doesn't
should
mean the
be in
same
the
as
Hall
it
of
used
Fame.
to.
Eli should not be in the Hall of Fame. He was not as good a quarterback as his brother, but he got hot at the right times and he had a good team around him. And you know what? More power to him for it.
I'm a Giants fan, and I completely agree with that. There's no way he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. A clutch quarterback, maybe, but
Because
not a
of his
Hall of
last
Fame.
name.
He
Yeah.
always hit the peak of his abilities at the right time of year.
Right.
That's true.
So I agree with that. Clutch, maybe. But yeah.
If you look at his
He
numbers,
did
he's
it
not
at
a
the
Hall
right
of
time.
Famer.
I mean,
Right.
I mean, the 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I mean, there's only a couple of guys that have to. That may get him in. I don't know, but the numbers don't.
Well, and one of those titles took a miraculous ass catch too. I mean,
Yeah.
it took a literally all-time top 5 highlight.
both of
type
them did.
play. Well, yeah.
Don't
Well, I'm
mention
sure we don't have to tell
Mario's
Dan
name.
about that.
Please don't mention Mario's name.
Yeah, I'm
Please,
still
for the love of
crying
God,
over
don't mention
07,
Mario's
man.
name.
Oh,
All right.
oh,
Folks, hey, I love
All right.
being on with all you guys. I'm gonna get going here though. I got kids that got to sleep upstairs. I would like to maintain my
Brandon,
marital
Chase, we're not
relations
going to
with
get
my
you to
wife,
break down your game real quick. We're not going to get you to
Listen,
break down your
here's
game
the
real
thing.
quick.
I'm happy it's home. I'm happy it's in cold weather. It's not crazy cold weather, but the cold weather thing gets overblown because not everybody on both of these teams is from some kind of like warm weather climate.
I thought we were
and
talking
it's
about
gonna-
your win over the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, listen, the win over the Dolphins, I'll break that shit
Yeah,
all
win
the
over the
time.
Dolphins.
I always look forward. I'm always looking forward instead of looking back. Here's the thing about the Dolphin game. The defense somehow came alive when they needed to because Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are a handful for anybody. This team has not necessarily been great on defense and not near as good as they were supposed to be. But they did what they had to do. The offense came through and actually ran the ball with some semblance of I don't know, not efficacy. That's my English degree coming out. They actually looked halfway competent running the ball. Was that?
Aaron Jones screwed me this weekend. I don't want to hear about this.
And
Five
they were
points.
protecting him because he's a little banged up. They don't. But AJ Dillon, on the other hand, actually finally played like a football player. But again, they haven't used him right all year. I've been bitching about everybody else's play call.
Yeah, I didn't need that this weekend.
I get it. Trust me, I didn't either. I had Aaron Jones in a league that I was number 1 seed in, defending champion, and yeah, it cost me too. But
Quick question though.
Yeah.
What do you think of you guys knocking Tua out again with the concussion and him playing like 2.5 quarters with a concussion,
here's the
which
thing.
led to those 3 turnovers in the fourth quarter?
His first couple concussions early in the season against the Bengals there, and then it was very obvious.
Mhm.
Like no one could have seen
Yeah.
that and been like, "Oh, dude, that dude's fine." We
Man.
all saw that. He did not, from everything I've seen, he did not look like that last Sunday though. The independent people didn't pull him out. The people running the freaking cameras didn't pull him out. His own team didn't pull him out. And I mean, it's weird to think that a guy could have that many concussion issues and be that prone to them by now in his career. It's obvious he's prone to them. He's just one of those dudes. But if no one caught it on Sunday, I don't necessarily blame anybody for that occurrence. It sucks for him, and it sucks for them going forward because they're fighting for their playoff lives too now with Teddy Bridgewater instead of Tua Tagovailoa, who's been a great player this season. But I mean, I played football, but I also try to be forward thinking enough to be like, yeah, I realize they have to legislate certain things out of the game or they have to watch guys for head injuries. I don't want to see guys end up like Mike Webster and Demaryius Thomas. You know what I mean? I don't want to see guys end up like that at the end of their lives. But I don't know you can blame anybody if he wasn't showing any signs of it enough to be pulled out in the game. I don't know that you can, bitch at the Dolphins or the league or anything else. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's scary though. It's scary as all hell. I feel bad. I mean, he's a young man. He's a young man. And if he's getting hit that hard all that time and he's prone to concussions, you're talking about having to make some hard decisions about his life. He has to make some hard decisions about his life and his career going forward.
Mhm.
But I don't know you can blame anybody in that situation, because if they didn't catch it, they didn't catch it. I mean, I don't know. They're not doing like CT scans in the middle of the damn game, I don't think.
And I
If
have
they-
one last
if they
question
are,
for
the
you.
rules-
under that blue tent.
But if they are
one
doing
la-
CT scans, they're taking the guy out, period. He's not going back in. So,
I have one last question for you.
yeah.
Do you think it's fair that Jair Alexander is a Pro Bowler this year since he's had such a down year?
He's also got a career high in interceptions, though, and he's been a Pro Bowler in the past. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
I'm
He's one
not
of the-
saying that I'm not saying that his body of work in the past
No,
means that he shouldn't have it, but I'm saying most of this year he's either been injured or Stokes, Savage, they've all been like subpar
you
compared to
can-
the past offs.
you can make that same argument for a lot. It's the Pro Bowl. I mean, you can
And
make that.
I just
And you can
Yeah,
make
the
the
Pro
same
Bowl's
argument.
questionable to say.
You
the
can always
And
make
I
that
just-
same argument for guys in the
Flag Bowl,
All-Star game, too.
baby.
Yeah, are they even? They're not even
Is
playing the
anyone gonna
game
watch
anymore.
this Flag Bowl?
Yeah,
No.
no, they stopped playing the
Um,
actual game. Yeah, they're just going to have like superstar
I-
competition, which is better anyway.
It's
That's the coolest part of the whole
it's
NBA game.
it's a
Aren't
7-on-7
they playing the
flag
flag
football
bowl?
competition on the last day.
But they're going to do more things. Yeah, they're going to do more things, almost like more
Yeah.
like the NBA and All-Star Weekend, where they have
We're going
skills
back in
competitions and things
the
rather
early
than actual
'90s
game.
Pro Bowl tournament. That was
But
fun.
no, I
No,
That was fun.
I don't
no, I
think
just
it's fun.
Favre
I
and Cordell
asked
Stewart.
because I was shocked that Jair Alexander was A, healthy for this Miami game, and B, that he actually showed up in like the second half.
he played well. He's got a career high in interceptions this year. He's when he's been healthy, he's been playing as well as ever. But like you said, he's missed some time with injury. But I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily unfair that he made it. If you can name somebody you think got snubbed in favor of him, do you have anybody?
Charvarius Ward.
Had that
Charvarius
happened, I
Ward
wouldn't
is-
argue with you.
So
It's a kind of thing where, and I'm not trying to be a homer because I like the dude and he's on the Packers.
no.
or whatever.
I legitimately asked you what your
Yeah.
thoughts were because you're a Packer fan, so you watch him more than I do, and you're not as anti-Packer
been-
as I am. So
Like you said, he's got the reputation for past work. He has been, when on the field this season, he's been every bit as good as he has been, and he's got a
Plus-
career high in interceptions. So I'm not.
Plus-
Yeah,
I'm
the
not-
I
five
haven't-
picks. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
plus, I have an issue with people getting in either by name recognition, past performance, or just being on a team that's hot and they want to have at least one Pro Bowler for that team. Because I thought
Mhm.
a couple of years ago, in 2020, Robert Tonyan had one of the best seasons I've ever seen a tight end have.
Because they threw it
And
to
he
him in
got
the red
s-
zone.
And he got snubbed for Evan Ingram because they were so desperate to have anyone represent New York City in the Pro Bowl. And Evan Ingram had like one of the worst years ever, but because he was on the Giants, because he was a first round pick, but because there was nobody else to put in the Pro Bowl, he got it over Robert Tonyan. And
Yeah.
I felt like that was such a popularity contest. Like I was asking you because the Packers were screwed over before. What your thoughts were when you
That's a little
benefited
more of a
from it?
systemic issue, I think, with how they appoint dudes to the team. But to be honest with you, there aren't a whole lot of Packers that do warrant that kind of look this year on either side of the football. Actually, if they were only going to take one Packer for the Pro Bowl, they probably should have taken Keyshawn Nixon as a kick returner because he's
That
been a
guy.
revelation there for their team. But
Is he
yeah,
okay?
mean,
I know he got injured in that game.
well, they're going to have to see. I know that their kick return game wasn't for Shiznit after they lost him. I know that. But no, I don't have a problem with Alexander making it.
Dan, you were saying something?
No, I mean I'm gonna bounce pretty soon. That's it. As far as the Pro Bowl goes, it's a lot of past performance. No surprise there, but I really only care about the All Pro teams at this point. Pro
Right.
Bowls, whatever. It is what it is.
I can't wait to
Is
see
anyone
a
actually
bunch of
gonna watch
grown
the damn
men
thing?
give a shit about
Fuck no.
Never
flag
had,
football.
never will.
So,
I haven't watched it since I was in high school, man. I don't think you could pay me to watch the Pro Bowl.
No.
It's It's worse than the
Flag football
NBA All-Star
is
game.
gonna be
The NBA
awful.
All-Star game is no defense, but people want to see 167 to 143 basketball game.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see a 45 to 38 football game where literally no one tried on the offensive and defensive lines. They might as well go to a 7-7
Yeah.
flag.
Where,
If you get
where
injured in
TJ
a
Watt's
Pro
not
Bowl
even
game,
trying.
you're a
Right.
little bit of a bitch, aren't you?
What was that?
I said, if you get injured in a Pro Bowl game, you're a little bit of a bitch, aren't you?
You're that high school Harry trying to be the hero guy. Like you were going hard when nobody else was and you
Yeah.
blew your knee out kind of thing. You could have stood up and waved your arm and nobody would have cared.
That's why I say the only real
Has
All-Star
anyone
game
gotten
out there.
injured in the Pro Bowl game? Go ahead,
Didn't
Joe.
Drew
I'm sorry.
Brees
I
break an
interrupted
arm?
you. I'm sorry.
Yes, there've been a couple of big injuries. I mean,
I remember Drew Brees breaking
I
his
rest
arm
my case
in the
then.
Pro Bowl.
Drew Brees is a little
That was a
bitch.
long time ago, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was years ago, but again, I don't watch the game.
Oh
I
my
never
God.
have,
Yeah.
but I remember that.
what were you saying about the only real All-Star game, Joe?
Is in my opinion is baseball, because you get
Baseball's baseball. Yeah.
fake
It's the
games.
best of them.
Yeah, you get fake games in football, hockey, basketball. It's
Nobody-
not real.
You can't
Where-
not play defense if the ball's hit to you.
Yeah,
You
baseball
have to field the grounder and throw to first.
pitchers are still throwing 100
Yep.
miles an hour.
Yep.
You know, batters
Dudes are still
trying to
swinging
hit
and
home
hitting.
runs.
Yeah.
They're trying
I
to
agree with
steal
you.
bases.
Well,
so
a lot of the,
Look, we have
those players are-
quite a crew for baseball on here right now. Just to let you know,
yeah,
Pittsburgh or Cleveland. You got right below me. You got Milwaukee. Of course, you got this St. Louis Chronicles in the middle there on the bottom. Dan, big Red Sox guy. Big signing today, Dan. What'd you think, real quick?
Was that Segura
Yeah,
or
Corey
Corey Kluber? Yeah.
Oh,
I said the last time I was on, man, they should have gotten Corey Kluber like 3 or 4 years ago when he first left the Indians at the time. And
never.
yeah, I mean, he's still a decent player, but man, he is not Corey Kluber anymore.
Would you rather have him or Evaldi, who signed with Texas?
Probably him, but that's only because Evaldi's had a hard time staying healthy lately.
That's been his biggest issue with you guys. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, but Evaldi,
Then
if
we
you get
have
him healthy in
Joe.
the playoffs, he's a monster.
Boom. Yep. Clutch player.
then we have Joe above you, Dan, who's a big Mets fan who probably has been on a roller coaster
Nice,
lately
yeah.
with his team.
He's
Yeah.
happy.
Spending more money than the Catholic Church, man.
Yeah, they've been
Those
having a good
guys, those
offseason.
guys they've bought some people this week.
yeah.
If
Let's
this
see how
Correa-
it plays out. That's it.
if this
Just-
Correa deal falls through after Uncle Steve goes around bragging about how he stole Correa from the Giants, it's gonna be bad.
it's not
think-
going to look good.
They've tried to
be
buy
for sure.
championships across town for how many decades now, though, and how many do they really have to show for it? So
Right.
I mean, it worked out for them in the 90s and I mean early 2000s, but
worked out for the Cowboys in the '90s too. But what have they done so far? I mean, oh,
Yeah. This day and age, though,
right.
it's not. It's harder now. You got 100 teams making the
It is.
playoffs now, and you know it's you get a lot of fluke results like Phillies going to World Series and stuff like that. But you know, we'll see.
The Royals
stink of Phillies.
bubbling up
Orioles
every once
need-
in a while. Yep. All right, I'm going to bounce everybody. Good to see you all.
Great
Thanks for
seeing
having
you.
me on again, Ed. I'll be
Yes,
in
Chase.
touch.
We'll chat, man. We'll chat again. Thank you for stopping by.
No problem.
Yep.
All right, I might as well head out too. This is a good time, but it was good to talk to you all.
Bye.
Have a great night.
Have a
I
good
got
one,
about-
guys.
Dan, thanks for stopping by.
See you,
man.
Dan.
Thanks.
I got about 5 minutes and then I got to bounce too. I got a date with something.
Bottle. All right. Well. You might as well talk about your big Dallas win this weekend, there, Mr. Logan.
Like I said before, it was it was not really that important of a game to the Eagles, and the Cowboys barely beat them against their backup quarterback. Their defense is so good, and then they kind of just fall flat sometimes. So it's weird. I don't know.
How
I-
is their defense good? They barely got 1 sack in like 4 games.
I don't know. I don't follow the fucking
And
stats. What do I look like?
Parsons was being told as like the greatest thing since Lawrence Taylor, and that he was the unquestioned defensive player of the year. And
Listen, I will never compare Micah Parsons to Lawrence Taylor.
I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying there are
LT.
particular psycho Cowboy fans out there or Cowboy supporters that have said such things.
Yeah, Cowboys fans are a lot like
is
Cardinal
Michael Parsons
fans.
sending
They're
hookers to
stupid.
the other team before he gets there, like Lawrence Taylor did, keep him up all night, make him tired for the game the next day.
Yeah. But I mean, the last 5 minutes of the game was complete stupidity. The Cowboys should have lost that game. Honestly, I was joking about it, but seriously, it was like I knew that they should have been running the clock down. They had a lead, and then they just marched and took 20 seconds to score a touchdown. Luckily, I want to call them the Phillies, the Eagles. I believe they were 4 and out.
Okay.
And then, so the Cowboys get the ball back with like 2 minutes left, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. And then they march down to the goal line in like 20 seconds. And then 5 more seconds, they're out and they have to kick a field goal, I believe. Or was it another touchdown? No, it was a field goal. And it was just like, what are you doing? You're giving the Eagles 2 minutes now, 2 whole minutes, and they almost lost that game. I mean, it was just stupid. And I don't follow football, so if my analysis was weird, I really don't give a shit.
I actually think
It
that
was
made
stupid, Logan.
a lot more fun for all of us than actually hearing a Cowboy fan saying that they're going to go to the Super Bowl, that this is the team of champions. Never. Mini Michael Irvin rant about destiny and having to crawl before you walk before you run nonsense.
Listen, the great thing about football is that they have the Football Live and America's Game. And so I get to rewatch the 94, 93 Super Bowls about once every night. So, like I'm like, oh yeah, Michael Irvin. Oh yeah, prime time. Oh yeah.
Wait, did
Troy
you just say
Aikman.
94?
I don't remember what years they won.
So you secretly love when Michael Irvin got owned by Deion Sanders and the Niners went to the Super Bowl?
I don't know. I can't remember what years they won. Listen, I've had a beer.
Listen, Neil O'Donnell threw the ball to Larry Brown twice when he was wide open. All right, and it just went the other way for a touchdown. All right, that's the only reason the Cowboys won that game.
But yeah,
Oh my goodness.
Do you watch that highlight a lot, Logan? Do they show that one a lot?
I like to rewatch the one whenever I'm feeling super sad. Is the Thanksgiving Bowl where all they had to do was
Leon
prevent
Lett?
Leon Lett. I always forget his name. But yeah, I'm a
Leon Lett
diehard
did all the
Cowboys fan,
fumble.
as you guys can tell. Oh gosh,
There's so much
I love watching
enthusiasm
that. I'm
coming
like,
from your voice.
I watch that. I'm like, oh, this is where the current Cowboys players get their highlights from. They're like, oh yeah, I need to play like this. But the Cowboys would be be sure thing for the Super Bowl if they had their Cooper Rush playing full time and not Dak Prescott. But whatever. You know what? Just throw me out there at this point. Who gives a shit? Anyway,
You saying you do all right, huh?
yeah. I'd go out there naked and those defensive linemen couldn't even touch me.
All
anyways.
right. Goodbye, Logan. It was nice to see you again.
Wow. Okay. I guess I'm getting pushed out.
I thought you said you had to leave.
That's in 5 minutes. Okay, fine. I'm leaving.
You don't have
Bye,
to. You
everyone.
can stick around. We love you, Logan. I love
I know
you,
you
Logan.
do.
I love you.
I love you too, Adam. You complete me. But I gotta go somewhere. So, Joe, it's been a delight as
Good to see you
always.
again, Logan.
Good to see you too.
Always great.
Melissa, your sassy ray of sunshine always brings light to my darkest days and whatever and all that crap. And Adam, really glad that you're a Pirates fan and I'm a Cardinals fan, so I at least don't have to feel worse than you. So you got that
we
going for
signed
you.
Dick Mountain, baby.
No.
I really
Okay.
need Jason here for that. When he texted me that the other day, I started laughing.
And also happy retirement, JJ Watt. So sorry that you couldn't get a Super Bowl. Okay,
Is he
I'm
Hall of
back.
Fame? Is he
Yes.
Hall of Fame?
Yes.
I don't think he's first ballot, but I think he'll get in there.
I
I
say
think he'll
definitely.
eventually get in, but I didn't. We got into this debate today all day, and I said, I want to say he is. At first thought, I say yes because of the name, but then you go look at the stats, and it's like there's no championships, there's no divisional championship games. I mean, I understand, injuries kept him out a lot.
That 4-year tear of his, he's the most dominant player ever. But the rest of his career, besides that,
But it was the
I
AFC
don't.
South, and
I
we already talked about how bad it is.
no. But it's just like, okay, so like Patrick Willis, right, had one of those like great runs in the middle of his career, but the rest of his time was either on subpar teams or he was injured. So Patrick Willis has a hard time getting into the Hall of Fame because of all those factors on the outside, right? And it's just hard for linebackers, period. And I feel like JJ Watt is the same way when it comes to defensive line. It's just like you don't have a Super Bowl ring. And Patrick at least got to 3 championship games. It's just like I think it's really hard for defensive players to make it, period. I mean, look how long it took John Lynch to. He had to be like, 20 odd years out of football, and he had to be one of the top executives before he got in as safety. Like, it's hard for these guys to get in. Period.
I mean, there's only 2 linemen that are in the Hall of Fame right now that did not win Super Bowls. Cortez for the Seattle and Anyway, there's only 38 linemen in the Hall of Fame.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's really hard for guys to get in.
Do you think that if he had 2 more healthier seasons, that would have
I really
sweetened
think
the
he
deal?
needs a Super Bowl.
Really?
I really think he needs a championship, some championship, whether it's a divisional championship or a Super Bowl, to be a first or second time ballot. Because I mean, he really I understand he's done a lot, but I mean, I don't know.
I think the
player,
I think the 3-time Defensive Player of the Year is going to help him. I think a lot of things will help him because it's just he was one of those people that made you want to watch Texans football. But at the end of the day, it's so hard for any defensive player to make it in, even the great ones. I don't think it's gonna be first ballot. I wouldn't care if it was, but I don't see it happening.
It'd be really cool if him and TJ got in together.
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I'm
Just
out. Goodbye.
All right,
everyone.
Logan.
All right.
Hey, are we going to do a show before the end of the year, or am I going to see you next year?
We'll talk about it.
Okay. I didn't know. I didn't know your plan. I didn't know if you had.
I got
else
something
lined
to
up.
tell you. I'll tell you tomorrow night. So I'll see you
Cool.
guys.
All right, Logan. Have a good night tonight, buddy.
All right.
See ya.
Take care.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
All right, kids. Do we want to do rapid fire on these games that we really don't give a shit about?
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, I know I'm supposed to give a shit about the Saturday night game, but I mean, I do, obviously. I mean, it was a big game, but I wasn't there, and I hate feeling like left out here. All my people were like, "You weren't there." I was like, "No, I was supposed to. I had tickets, Joe. It was just too cold."
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
I didn't feel like being sick for the holidays.
And I made that mistake a couple of weeks ago. It's like I went to the game and froze and got soaked and couldn't wait for the end of it. And, swore that I'd never go to another cold weather game. So we'll see if that sticks. I've said that about 60 times, but we'll see if
Yeah,
this
that's right.
time
You were at the game the other day with a bunch of kids, right? Or something?
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I with a bunch of college friends who went that were from New York. Most of them were Jets fans, so we went to the Jets Bills games last week. So
So you had fun.
it was fun. I mean, great to hang out, but 40
That
degrees
game
and
is
being wet
crazy.
isn't exactly fun for me anymore.
Not enough drinks in you to make it fun, huh?
No, no.
Could you guys even see the field in that? Because I watched the TV copy of that game, and you could barely see in front of a player's face. The
Yeah,
rain was coming down so crazy.
it looked worse on TV, I think. I mean, it was horrible. Like as it just being there from the tailgate to the very end.
Mhm.
Again, couldn't wait to get home and dry. But I saw the highlights of it, and I says, "Wow!" I said, we weren't like tormented the whole time. I said
Yeah.
it was uncomfortable, yes, but it looked a lot worse on TV. When I saw it, the highlights there. Again, still miserable, but not that bad, I guess.
Okay.
All
I don't
right.
think Adam wants to talk about the Niners anymore, so we'll just rapid fire the rest of these games, I suppose.
Oh, if when we get there, we'll touch it. We'll touch it. Anything good about this game? Except for Cleveland couldn't keep the streak alive of beating New Orleans. Then I think if Cleveland would have won, I believe everyone in the AFC North would have beat the NFC South.
I
Wow.
like
At
that
least the
there's
Saints.
my actual thoughts are I'm glad there's more than just the Panthers that may get in the way of Tampa Bay making the playoffs. And B, I'm just really glad that Deshaun Watson lost. Those are my only thoughts about this game.
Yeah, my thoughts about losing, having Cleveland giving up points and everything. That was one reason I was upset about that. But I guess if there's one positive, again, as a team like New Orleans to maybe knock Brady out of the division race there. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Bucks win that division. But again, for a team like the Saints to even get close, gives me some ray of hope that somebody can catch them. But otherwise, there was nothing about this game that I liked. Well, again, except seeing Deshaun Watson.
He had a touchdown. He had the only touchdown for the Browns.
Yeah,
Don't care.
But
He
he didn't
lost.
play
That's
well.
all that matters.
Yeah, he didn't have any factor in that game besides that touchdown at all. So, and again, I won't be, I won't hide it. I don't want to see him do well. So that didn't bother me.
Thank you. It's not just me. Okay.
No.
And they were a much better team with Jacoby. That's
Yeah,
my third thought.
I agree with that.
Hold on, I'm getting there. Hold on.
That's all right. But I guess since Watson's contract is about 100 years and they're paying him about $10 billion, he's not
Well,
going
they're only
anywhere.
paying him $1 million this year.
Yeah. But I mean, it's long term, isn't it?
Yes. It's like for 6
Yeah.
years. It's all guaranteed.
I don't know if you're gonna if you're gonna hold massage parlors accountable, then just get rid of them.
Right.
I mean, if these girls are dumb enough to do this dumb
No,
shit,
no. We're not going in this topic because it's just going to make me very Jersey and it's going to scare a lot of people who may or may not watch this podcast. So we're going to
just
button
saying,
that.
like if you're gonna if people are gonna hold people accountable, then get rid of the stuff that's making them do dumb shit.
But this league doesn't do that. I mean, how many times has Josh Gordon come back because they wanted to have him work
I
out?
watched I watched the massage parlor behind my work get raided by the FBI, and they had to come take all the boxes out of our shop because there were that many fouls.
Okay.
So I mean, it
Can you
happens
talk-
everywhere. It's just a matter of like famous or not. It really does.
I hate this topic so much that I'd rather talk about the Seattle Seahawks. and I hate the Seattle Seahawks.
You love the Seattle Seahawks, Melissa. I don't want to hear it. Deep down inside, now that Russell Wilson is gone, you're like, I love this green and blue they wear.
No, I think those highlighter uniforms they wear are the worst thing that ever has hit my eye sockets ever. Those limeades are awful.
I'm gonna order you one.
Don't you dare. I have never owned a jersey, and God forbid the freaking first one that I ever get is a goddamn jersey from the DMS Seahawks.
Especially the bright ass green one. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, the glow in
You
the
need
dark.
I'm gonna put that order in for you.
thank God you don't know where I live. Anyway, back to this game. Am I shocked Kansas City won? No.
Look, Izzy, you're getting comments. I don't know if this was just now, but Miss Debbie Ryan chimed in. Izzy.
Hi, Miss Debbie.
Hi,
So
Debbie.
good to see you.
We didn't get to the game yet, but we're getting there. Anyway.
I
Anyway,
am
back
not
to this game.
I am not
Mahomes,
shocked
3
that
touchdowns.
Patrick Mahomes won this game. I am though shocked that everyone keeps saying that he's the front runner and he should be MVP because I see these games on TV, unfortunately, because that's what we get in Jersey. And I don't see it this year. I don't see him being dominant. I don't see the Chiefs being this powerhouse. I see Joe Burrow and I see it. I see Josh Allen when he came back from his like 3 or 4 weeks of when he was struggling. And I see it. I see these other guys like a Justin Jefferson or a Nick Bosa being these cogs and like these fundamentally life-altering players on their teams. And I don't see it with Patrick Mahomes this year. And yet everyone keeps trying to like wanting him to be the like third unanimous MVP behind Lamar Jackson and somebody I keep forgetting the name of. Like, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed in this game just because, as a Bills fan, obviously I want to see the Chiefs lose. And I thought maybe the Seahawks would be the type of team that would maybe sneak up, and sneak into Kansas City and maybe steal a win or something, But this Chiefs team, that doesn't happen to when you think they're going to have a letdown game before a rivalry.
I guess you don't know about the Niners streak then, right?
No.
Okay, so for the majority of this year, right? Every team that faces the Niners, aside from the Kansas City Chiefs, who came off the bye and then barely beat the Titans the following week after that, have all lost after facing the Niners.
After playing the Niners. No, I didn't know that. And again, this team, that doesn't happen to. The trap game. Every time you play a trap game,
did you see that Colts game?
They're going to lose. Yeah. But you know what?
Travis Kelce gave up 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. It was a little disappointing to me, though, because I thought Seattle would give a bigger fight. And, to comment about what you said about Mahomes, I don't think he's an MVP candidate either. But, it impresses me when players just, play and win. And the stats may not be pretty and they might not be flashy, but you know what? They just keep winning. And I want them to lose. I can't wait for the letdown to come. But
I am so desperate for the playoffs to go through Orchard Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's Cole Beasley jersey in the background or Josh Allen.
What?
Is that a Cole Beasley jersey in the background or Jim Kelly?
That I got that's a Beasley jersey who just got back to Buffalo.
Just came back. I was gonna say, I just saw it now, and I was like, wait, that's an 11.
Yeah, that's
like,
my.
And I couldn't tell if it was wavy or not, and there was a 7.
Yeah.
But now that I've actually sat here and examined it, I was like, is that a Cole Beasley jersey?
I didn't realize that was back there. That's my daughter's physical therapy prop there, and she's got the Beasley jersey on.
Adam, real quick before Miss Debbie leaves, can you show her that little 25 behind you, real quick?
Do what?
Can you show her the 25 real quick?
I've seen this jersey. I think Debbie was there when I seen it. Got 75 anniversary. Mr. Davis.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch. I have a whole bunch out right now.
I like the TJ Watt. I think that's my favorite one that you have for the Steelers.
TJ Watt.
Yeah, don't you have a Watt jersey on that rack behind you?
I don't know if it's out now or not. I got Palomalu's.
Yep, Debbie's
TJ Watt's
commenting
right
on what you just said. And that I
What's
didn't
that?
know that. That the 49ers damage teams and those find it hard to win after playing them.
Yeah.
So I didn't know about that record until just now. But that's interesting.
Oh, but the
Oh,
Chiefs.
Tua hasn't won. Tua hasn't won since that game.
Mm-hmm.
Who else was there?
Tampa,
obviously
the
Patty Mahomes didn't fall
Chargers,
into that.
Seahawks,
Thanks, Deb.
Bucks, Miami, Chargers, Rams. It's been for like 12 plus weeks.
Wow, that's crazy.
All right, Meadowlands. Actually, this is in the Viking ship, huh?
There, they had the whiteout and the big
I
white.
really thought the Giants were going. I really thought the Giants were going to
Vikings.
win this game.
Yeah, I thought they had a chance. I like I said, the Giants are one of my teams too, and they were losing the game. But again, it's the Vikings. You got a chance to win. It doesn't matter. You could be losing by a lot, and you still got a chance. And I thought they would pull it out, and I believe they
Unless
tied
you're the
it.
Colts.
And yeah, that's that was crazy. I mean, the Vikings have made some great comebacks too. I mean, the Bills were beating them, by close to 2 touchdowns, I believe, and the Vikings stole that. But they're the Ravens of the NFC.
TJ Hawkinson has become one of Cousins' favorite targets.
He had a
big
great game.
2
Had him on
touchdowns,
Kyle-
109 yards,
He's
13
their new.
receptions.
He's their new Kyle Rudolph. I think the Giants, offensively, not surprised. Saquon Barkley has been awful recently. I mean, you could see it in the beginning of the year where he was, trying to make a case for himself to get like one of those mega deals. 'Cause he's on the last year of his deal. But the defense, I feel so bad for that defense because it's not like full of superstars, but they play so hard, and Wink Martindale has brought so much magic and life into that defense that it sucks that the offense can't get anything done to help
Mhm.
out that defense.
Yeah, they're in every game, and they have a chance to win every game. I am a little surprised about the Barkley thing. I fell for it, hook, line. I thought he was back. I thought, he was the real Barkley. Of course, maybe just being biased and hopeful that way. But it's, I credit other defenses. I mean, people have figured him out, and, he's going to have to step it up. And,
You know what I think it is? I think it's one of those situations where people want to believe in second chances. They want to believe that when someone comes off all those injuries, they can have that magical year. But Saquon has never had that heart, when he plays. He has, I think, a fundamental talent, but he tap dances too much behind the lines, and he waits for like perfect holes, and he wants every run to be one of those like top 10 ESPN things where like people are just talking about it for like 6 hours straight on primetime networks. And he's never been one of those guys that likes being hit. He doesn't like having to bruise and get tough yards. He it feels like the end of Eli's career, like when you saw someone break off on the edge and you saw them running loose. And you remember how Eli would like tuck his arms into his chest and like kind of like fall like he was like a ballet dancer onto his knees and then curl up in a fetal position. It feels like it's more protecting themselves than wanting to perform and take the hit to be a team player. It's like last year, the last few games with James Bradbury, you saw him fight all year long. And then at the end, he's like, I'm really not going to sign back with the Giants. I'm just going to start looking out for me. And then he started like all these big plays slip. And I feel like it's the same thing with Saquon. Maybe the Giants already have said that they're not going to sign him back or not, but just it's completely fallen apart.
Right. It's too bad, because like I said, I would have loved to see him do well and keep, doing what he was doing in the beginning of the season. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he gets a second win, he gets him into the playoffs, and, he could do something. But I agree with everything you said there.
All right. Was this the upset of the weekend?
I love this game. I love this game so very much. I have been dying for this for about 6.5 weeks, give or take. I have been begging for Lovey to get another win, and he finally got another win after his close games against the Cowboys, and I think it was Jacksonville was the other game.
I think.
I could be wrong, but I know the Cowboys was one of them where he got like really close to beating them, and
The Chiefs. They almost beat the Chiefs.
yes, it was Chiefs.
Oh, they went to overtime.
Thank you.
Right.
So
And Jerick McKinnon scored the game-winning
I
touchdown.
felt bad for Lovie Smith because it feels like he's just going to be like the scapegoat coach again, like the previous coach. And I really enjoyed watching Damian Pierce and like a few key pieces on that team. But it feels like Laramie Tunsil, every time they have like anything that works out for them, always has those big penalties. The false starts, the holding, the face mask. It feels like they're in the rut that they were in before Deshaun Watson happened, where the Texans just couldn't get out of the way of the Texans.
Mm-hmm. Although I respect them because if there's one team that I guess, not had the right, but would just kind of roll over and die and just quit, it would be this team. But they're the worst team in the league, and yet they're the hardest fighting team. Again, almost beating the Chiefs, almost beating Dallas. I'm not so surprised about this. I thought they'd keep it close. I had the Texans with the points, not thinking they'd win the game. I didn't think that would happen, but I thought they'd keep it close. And again, fight hard. Lose by a field goal, and didn't happen the way. Good for them. They finally got one of those wins that they deserve. They could easily have 4 wins, on the season.
The only truly shocking part about this game was, like I reiterated earlier, Derrick Henry getting the fumbles out of like nowhere, where he's like dropping the ball all the time, and
Right.
The absolute collapse of the Titans team in general. I think that's the far more shocking thing. But kudos to the Texans, and my only fear when it comes to the actual Texans themselves is that they play too hard like the Jets a couple of years ago, and they lose the first overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand as the players, like you don't care about the next guy. You want to have something on tape so you can look your family in the eye, you can look yourself in the eye, you can be proud of what you accomplished and how far you came. But at the end of the day, I think it's really hard for these teams who've been mismanaged by people who've been there before, like what O'Brien did to that team, and they have a real shot to try to like break out of that thing with all these picks they have now. And I worry that they're going to lose it to the Bears now.
It's possible. But, again, like you said, these players play for pride, and they're not thinking about that.
Adam, do you have anything to add?
No. No, I did not get into that game. I was very bored with that game. But I'm glad the Texans won. I mean, I am a Lovie Smith. Wasn't ready for that full gray on beard thing going on, but
I love the stand-up beard.
But then Lovie Smith with hair would look just like would just look like Huntley, the quarterback for the Ravens. He's got that little gray thing in his beard now too. Did you notice that?
No.
Huntley, yeah. So I can see Lovie Smith with hair and then looking just like Huntley. But anyway, Melissa, you can talk a little more about your game. I'm gonna let it go, even though we had a good show last night with Niners Chaos, and we're going to build off that, and we're going to get rolling again.
My Niners. Where do I start with my Niners? I am so happy for
Kittle,
George Kittle.
possibly Ray McLeod going one rush for 71 yards.
Right,
to
70
the
yards.
house. So he had
Okay,
one
so-
rush for 71 yards, and he took it to the house.
So this is the funny thing about that is like all Niner fans seem to know this, but I don't know if you guys know this. Kyle Shanahan over the last couple weeks has grown like this thing for calling out players in the locker room before the games, right? So a couple weeks ago, the linebackers had an outstanding game. I think it was against Miami, and Kyle Shanahan the very next week goes to the entire team and says all this praise to the linebackers, then called out the defensive line. And that pissed off like Nick Bosa. And Nick Bosa got 3.5 sacks that game. And then after that last sack, went up to Shanahan and said, "Don't talk shit about me." And so this game, he did the same thing with Ray, where he says, "You're gonna run this thing that Debo always runs, and you got to do better." And then Ray got the big 71-yard touchdown. And the cool thing about that was that Ray would have had a second touchdown, but George Kittle kind of like pulled a Grinch and stole it from him. And Ray had the
Steal it from
wherewithal
him.
to
See?
back off and let him catch it. What were you asking?
He said it was the free. Thought it was the free safety. They're never gonna. Yeah, like that's what they said on the sidelines. I watched the tape.
But no,
so
you know what?
for the Commanders, would you go Heineke or Wentz next week?
It's a tough call because I mean he started off on fire and now he's lost like 3 games in a row. So I guess you got to try to maybe break the momentum. I mean, if you know, and I agree with the move, even though I think Heineke's the better guy. I agree with the move just to maybe just stop the negative momentum and get back on the winning track.
I personally think you have to go Carson Wentz. You trade all those picks. You have to see if this guy can stay healthy enough or he can lead you or he should be there long term to compete for the starting job. The Commanders, kind of like the Colts, kind of like the Panthers, have been a kind of turnstile with quarterbacks. And I think we've seen the best of Taylor Heineke. Now we've kind of seen some of the worst of Taylor Heineke. So I think as much as Ron Rivera might love him, I think you kind of have to force yourself to hope for the best and play Carson Wentz for the next 2 games.
Right.
I agree with Miss Debbie on that one. They sure did show up for those
They did.
games.
I'm a big fan of Ray starting here in Buffalo, you know, so
And
you know,
he left
I always
Pittsburgh and
wanna
went
see
to San Francisco.
that's right.
I've always been a fan. I know he's fast, and maybe the Steelers didn't utilize him right, obviously. But
No, I saw him
you
in
know.
training camp. You know, we usually go to the training camps, you know, when that starts, and we noticed him there, and he played very
that's so
well.
cool.
Yeah. So, like I said, it was disappointing to see him go. I mean, they had to, you know, it wasn't enough room for him here. But anywhere he goes, I want to see him do well.
I always like to see former players do well too.
Exactly.
That's half the reason why I actually turned into like a softcore Titans fan a couple of years back. Because one of my favorite players was Delaney Walker, and Delaney Walker went to the Titans after the Niners. And I love seeing him get to shine and prosper there for a short bit. And I can't help it. There's just like certain players you get so attached to, you can't help but want to see them do well, even if
Mhm.
it's not for your team.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. George Kittle's coming back to life again. I mean, I love this rookie quarterbacks. They love tight ends.
Okay, so I had a question for you guys. Since it's like been a big topic with Niner fans, and you guys are unbiased. Do you think that the rules should change where a sack should count on a 2-point fail conversion.
I didn't know that it didn't, to be honest with you. I think it should.
Okay. Adam?
I am up in debate about this because none of the stats count anyway.
That's true.
And would that sack then all of a sudden all the fantasy players would be like, well, does that go on my defense? Does that go on special teams? Does that interception now? Can they
Right.
take it back to the house for 2? Normally they wave it dead.
I think it should be at least something that they look at because it's so hard for these defensive players to even get a single sack now because you can't even land near the quarterback. You have to like put them down like you're placing a delicate glass vase now, and these guys are like not the smallest men in the world, and not a lot of them are as agile or freakishly agile as like a Nick Bosa. So I think it's really hard for defenders in general to take down a quarterback, especially one of these ones that is mobile enough to keep running and make plays, stay open for so long. That it's ridiculous that we're trying to further cut down on the impact and stats they can achieve because nobody wants on special teams or offense to have to take credit for the defenders having a brilliant play. Like if
Well,
it counts as a
they also
if it
don't
counts
get
as a
credit for the
tackle,
yards, like when they run it in for the
But-
2-point conversion.
but if it counts as a tackle, why can't it count as a sack? That's the whole thing that we've been all fighting about. Like
but none
the
of
last
that
couple
counts.
days.
None of that counts.
It counted as a tackle for Nick Bosa. It just didn't count as a sack. So that's the
It
whole
shouldn't count as
question
anything
behind
'cause
it.
It's an extra point.
It's a failed
None
2-point
of them stats
conversion.
should count at all.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask you guys.
I understand that in fantasy, if your running back runs it in, you get those 2 points,
Yeah.
but you don't get the yards.
Um,
Just like
And- and-
the quarterback throws it there, you don't get those 2 yards either. You get the 2 points.
You get the 2-point convert. Yeah.
It's just like a kicker.
It's a tough call, actually. Yeah.
and my other question for you guys is, you guys have had your hiccups with like receivers in the past, right? Whether it was Gabe Davis recently or whatever. So
No, we
I
did not
have-
have Deontay Dropson.
I stayed far away from mentioning any Steeler receivers on purpose. So there's a player I really truly love. His name is Jawan Jennings. He's a really solid player, but he had an awful catch that he could have easily made for a touchdown, or but either way, he bobbled it up and he sent it into the forced hands on the defense, and now everyone's like turning on him and getting really toxic about him, and I was just wondering if you guys had ever seen something like that with your own fan bases, because he's so clutch on third downs. Like a couple of weeks ago, he was like about the only person who was working on offense when it came to that 13-0 shutout against the New Orleans Saints, and he had the only like points in that game, and he kept drives alive, and he was instrumental in like 2 overtime wins last year, and I just don't understand the hate that he gets. It's
for
so
that
toxic
game,
and
Melissa.
venomous.
It's not hate. It's for that game's interactions. If you everyone breaks down something, okay? And if you got to take that away from the game as one of the key points, then of course everyone's going to rag on that dude. I mean, unfortunately, if you're in Pittsburgh and you're like Deontay Dropson, you get a multi-million-dollar contract and you still go out there and have 0 touchdowns. You get a 2-year, $36 million deal and you have 0 touchdowns.
I was
You don't
thinking
deserve it.
I was more thinking like Juju Smith-Schuster, like you saw the dancing and stuff, and like people
We don't
were all
see
into it.
Andy Reid has taken control of that, and I mean, I thought for
I
sure
meant
we were going to
because
see. I thought for sure we would see more with the whole Mahomes clan, and we haven't. I think Andy Reid finally got fed up and said, "Look, I'm bringing him in here to play football. I'm not bringing him in here to be a dance off." And they definitely have shut down Pat's brother from doing stupid shit. When he stepped on Sean Taylor's star on the field, I don't believe no one knocked his ass out from the Redskins. Someone should have knocked that motherfucker out. That was so disrespectful.
Hmm.
Sean
I
Taylor
don't
was a hell of a player.
I
He's
I, I don't understand how any of his family members are allowed at games anymore. I mean, there was that one playoff game. I think it was against the Buffalo Bills, in the divisional game, and she opened a bottle of champagne out of her luxury box and sprayed it on all the fans below her and a bunch of kids and everything else. And she did not give a crap about what she was doing, and it just
sometimes you get
yeah,
hit lost in
that's
the heat of the moment and you forget who you are and you're just
Hmm.
celebrating the team. I mean that shit happens.
Yeah,
And of
going
course
back
um
to
she's
your.
gonna go
Oh,
ahead,
go ahead.
Jeff.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. But
No, go
going
ahead.
back to your question, I was just going to say, in football, I don't have any examples of like extended, as you say, hate towards players. Other sports, I do, like maybe baseball, where it's a longer season. They're playing every
it's
day. I've
okay,
seen it
so
happen there.
it's not like an extended thing. It's just like it's a wait and see thing. Like they're like the person who's waiting for the other shoe to drop, and then as soon as the
Hmm.
shoe drops, they pounce and they attack. Then they get quiet again, and then
They
they come back
pounce
out
on bad
again
plays,
when
Melissa. It's
bad
not
play comes out.
necessarily the player. It's not necessarily the player.
Okay,
It's the bad play that they made.
I'm gonna
And
send you
if
I'm gonna
you're
send
gonna
you a
stick up for that
conversation.
person,
I'm gonna send you a conversation, and I'm gonna have you listen to it, and then tell me that this isn't personal because it's crazy. Um, but back to the Niners. I'm just so thankful that they're playing so well on all three sides of the football. I don't think that George Odom or Samuel Womack have gotten enough credit for what they're doing on special teams. I think Christian McCaffrey has brought new life to my offense. And I never thought I was going to say the words, and I apologize, Miss Debbie, if I piss you off with this. Um, but I never thought I would enjoy a linebacking duo or a linebacking crew as much as I did with Willis and Bowman. But I truly love Jake Greenlaw with all of my heart and soul. And I think that him and Warner are just so perfect together
I'll be right back.
that
Hold on one second.
that I actually enjoy watching 54 and 57 together more than I watched 52 and 53. And that's when I truly fell in love with the Niners, when Fangio and that defense were clicking in 2011 as an adult. So it's really hard for me to say that, but there's just something so magical and special about this duo, you know? It kills me that Drake Greenlaw didn't make the Pro Bowl.
And Debbie, I see your comment there. I was going to say that myself. A lot of the reaction towards players depends on the fan bases. I've lived in two totally different fan bases, in Buffalo now, and I spent my life in New York. So different fan bases treat players differently. But if they allow mistakes or have a lot of patience. So obviously, in a place like New York, the patience level is nil. Here in Buffalo, it's some of the nicest, most patient fans in the league. So fan base definitely has a lot to do with the question that was brought up here.
Even Debbie said some Niner fans are so fickle and tend to criticize a player for a mistake rather
Mhm.
than taking their
Yeah.
field work as a whole.
That's right.
Which is kind of like what I said too. I said, it's kind of like they attack that player for bad play,
Hmm.
And
I love
then
you,
when
Miss
they do
Debbie.
good play, I see good comments on that too.
Right.
I mean, and that's what makes
So I had one last question for you
unfair.
guys.
What do they call them? Fair weathered fans.
Fair weather
Joe?
fans. Yeah.
I have
And
one last
versus the
question for you
fans that
guys.
just watch the game and go, "Oh, he sucks."
Hmm.
And we all know we get that. We all know that.
My next question to you was, who could you see facing the Niners in the NFC Championship game? Like,
Hmm.
do you buy the Vikings more, the Eagles more, the Cowboys more?
I buy
I
the
think it
Eagles
depends
more.
what goes on with Jalen Hurts. Sorry, Joe.
No, that's exactly. It depends on what goes on with Jalen Hurts. The Eagles are the team I trust the most against the 49ers, but
Hmm.
any of those teams, Cowboys, Vikings, again, I hate to say it. I hope it's totally wrong, but Tampa, um, so there's several teams that could end up going
See,
against them.
you guys are afraid of Jalen Hurts, right? And it's warranted because it's his throwing shoulder, and he'll be rusty. Like, even the best person coming off a couple weeks not throwing at all
Hmm.
is going to have some issues, and it's most likely going to be the playoffs. My main concern is Lane Johnson being injured,
Hmm.
because that's a huge injury. And if they happen to play the Cowboys again without Lane Johnson, I don't know how they're gonna handle that with Jalen Hurts being completely blindsided. And I think Micah Parsons would uberly show up for that game
Right.
to make up for his less than stellar performance against the Niners last year in the playoffs.
Hmm.
I think we should finish this week. I think we should finish the season before we get into playoff communication.
All right.
I was just a question. I don't know when I'm gonna see Joe again, and I like talking to him, so I thought I'd pick his brain real quick.
Good question.
So I want to play the Franco. I want to play the Franco video real quick. Is that all right, guys?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Sure.
I know Melissa's seen it 1,000 times by now, but
I don't get sick of this video. Whoever made it is very talented.
Evan made it. I was hoping Evan would finally be on one of the shows whenever
I was giving you the
but his
chance
internet
to.
connection is mighty messed up right now, and I don't
I
know
was
what's
giving
going
you
on
the
with it.
I was giving you the opportunity to shout out Evan, who couldn't stay.
All right, everybody, we're gonna play this video real quick. As we know, Franco Harris passed away last week, and Evan made this video for us. And let's go. Oh, thank you, Evan. It was a very good video. I forgot to take down the score, so it did say "Rest in Paradise," Franco Harris, and then his years of living.
Hmm.
Anyway, nice little video. I thought the game was very well. Obviously, the Steelers have now taken out Derek Carr for the rest of the year.
Hmm.
And we get the Jarrett Stidham and Josh McDaniels reconnection. George Pickens and Pickett, I think this is going to be a connection for at least 4 years on their contract. So I think this is going to be fun to watch. I'm enjoying watching the growth of Pickett. I know everyone's like, don't let him go, let him go. You know, we need a good quarterback. That's what we're doing. We're watching him grow. You know, everyone doesn't get a Ben Roethlisberger out the gate that goes 15-1.
Right. There's a guy named Trevor Lawrence out there that I think is proving that. There's a guy named Josh Allen that wasn't exactly amazing his first year. So I've always been a big Pickett fan. Since preseason, I watched him a couple of games. I said, you know what, this guy has potential. So, yeah, I think if they're patient, that'll be rewarded.
Isn't he
Coming
like
out
the
of New
first?
Jersey, right, Melissa? Everyone thinks Kenny Pickett's from Pittsburgh just because he went to Pitt. No, he's from New Jersey.
I love Jersey. No, but what I had to ask you was, does your defense blow up? Because I keep watching it and I keep seeing the flashes of the Steelers defense that I used to really love and loathe at the same time. And
Like Troy Polamalu, Deshae Townsend, Ike Taylor
no,
days.
I'm like talking about like Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick when they were all healthy and dynamite and shut
Oh, you
and
said like when you used to watch.
scary. Yeah,
I was
used to
living
watch.
back in the day.
See, this is the problem talking to Steelers with you, because I mentioned something either current or semi-current, and you always go back to when you guys were Titletown USA, the actual Titletown USA dominant
Right, because
Psycho
we've gotten away
Steelers.
from that attitude. We've gotten away from it where the city of mediocrity. You should have heard every radio station today. Like, that was the call in. And finally, I think people are starting to realize that maybe Tomlin is kind of like needs to go.
Mhm.
I felt that.
I
I felt
really
that
feel
today. I really
I-
felt the city was finally fucking seeing it today. I've been seeing it for years, but that's
okay.
just me.
So the closest I can come to explaining this is, I think it's one of those times where the coach's message is just not resonating anymore. You know, it happened with Parcells. I think it happened with Dungey in a couple places. I feel like it happened with John Harbaugh recently. I think it's happening with Bill Belichick. I think sooner or later that the glasses wear off, the wow factor of the coach wears off, and I think for all parties it's just best you move on and you get a fresh start and you start new, where you all can have a brand new chance at this thing. And
And
I
I hope
don't
Carolina
think
takes them. I really do.
I don't think that either is going to succeed unless they part at this point. And I don't want Mike Tomlin to get fired. I don't want him not to be a coach, even though I have my issues with Mike Tomlin. Because what he did against the Ravens in that playoff game really pissed me off. But I really don't think that it's sustainable for this coach to stay in the same city and to be successful and give Steeler fans what they've been waiting for, which is to be relevant again.
I think now's the right time too. You know, it's like it's kind of a fresh start, almost kind of situation.
You have a young quarterback. You need an offensive mind. You need to spark your offense. You need to get a running game again, which the Steelers were known for how many decades there, Adam? And then it feels like the last 5 years you have had no running games since Le'Veon Bell sat for that 1 year. It just, I
Le'Veon
really
Bell was good, but it got we kind of went to a double two-headed monster, kind of like what you guys did. We never we had that one guy, but we always had that other guy.
no. I'm not saying it was just Bell. I'm just
back
saying
in the
the
90s,
last.
we had Barry Foster, Van Morse, and then that led into Willie Parker, and then we went out and got the boss.
Yeah.
And then Le'Veon Bell came around. I can't recall really having a fullback in front of him until they really went out and signed Derek Watt.
I feel like
I just
the Steelers
don't
need.
feel like we've had that two-headed monster in a while, and we haven't had that wham bam game either.
I feel like the Steelers just need a Ken Dorsey, someone who's young, hungry, who gets emotional, who shows his heart on his sleeve, who will bring fire and passion to everything he does. And I know he's currently a Buffalo Bill, and I don't need to pick off your coaches already because you just went through this, but
I mean,
I
if
feel
you're
like
gonna go out and get a coach, why not? Well, okay, since we got the whole Rooney Rule, why not look into Byron Leftwich or Eric Bieniemy, but I don't think Bieniemy is ever going to leave Kansas City because he knows that job's going to be his when Andy Reid's ready to walk.
I really feel like the enemy doesn't want to do the grunt work. I feel like the reason why he passed on the Cleveland job twice, why he passed
I'd
on
pass
the
on the
Jets
Cleveland
job,
job too.
why he
Yeah.
passed on the
Yeah,
Jets
I
and
don't think
Giant
anybody.
jobs multiple times,
But I mean,
why he
Eric
passed
Bieniemy
on
is waiting for Eric Reid to step down. I mean, Andy
the
Reid,
Hu-
Jesus, Eric Reid, Jesus,
he passed
Andy
on
Reid.
he passed on the Houston job. He passed on the Houston job again when they like try to like roll out the red carpet and try to like offer him the sun, the moon, the
Why
galaxy.
would you want to go ruin your career when you're in a perfect situation?
Okay,
Mhm.
I'm not saying he should have taken any of those opportunities, but it's like 3, 4, 5 year period where everyone was like, Eric Bieniemy is going to be the next head coach. He's the favorite here. He's the favorite here, and I go back to that one
He's
quote of
never
his.
leaving.
I
He's
just
never leaving.
I go back to that one quote of his where he says he wants to go to a ready team that has a legitimate top 5 quarterback, and it's just like
Kansas City Chiefs.
the teams that have that situation just don't have coaching opportunities open. Like the closest I can think of in my head that has that kind of a situation, maybe it is the LA job if Brandon Staley gets fired, and even that it's just they got the quarterback, but they don't have everything else around it. You know,
I mean, the people that got away with it right now is looking like the Colts, but I don't know if they're going to keep Jeff Saturday after this year.
I don't think so.
I mean, you know, what do you do in Indianapolis? What do? You have Jonathan Taylor, who I don't even know. They shut him down for the rest of the year now. I mean, I
I
would.
thought I saw something saying that he's probably done. I don't know if that was, true or if that's the case, but I think it might be smart.
the
I mean,
only
why?
players
Obviously we know that Matt Ryan's not the answer.
Mm-hmm.
the only players I know for sure that are shut down are usually the ones that are in my division because you can't avoid those. So I know Aaron Donald is shut down for the year. I know Stafford's shut down for the year.
Right.
Well, no, we were just talking about that head coaching position, about where to go, and I mean, I'm just curious, throwing this out there, does Peyton Manning come back as a head coach?
I
And
don't
take
see it.
and take the Colts job? That would be attractive for any quarterback. You're going to learn a lot.
I cannot see Peyton Manning of all people coaching, and I mean that.
No one could see Jeff Saturday either.
No, but I
But
mean
here we
I mean
are.
this with all due respect to Peyton Manning because I love the sheriff, but you saw it on the sidelines for how many years, whether it was in the Indianapolis or it was in Denver, he'd start cussing out his offensive line. He'd start cussing out veterans, baby rookies making their very first start. He would just like drag guys. He'd be like, Coach, I don't give a crap what the hell you say. I don't care where this guy was drafted. I don't care how much money you're playing him. I am not throwing him the ball. I do not want him on my field. Like he was
Ask Austin Collie about that.
so
Austin
dominant of
Collie
a
dropped the
force
pass
and
came back to the huddle, and Manning just said, "Bench, go." And the head coach was like, "I didn't pull you." He's like, "Peyton did."
He was just so dominant of a force, and he was just such a perfectionist. I can't see Peyton Manning moving past all that stuff and being able to swallow and be nice and to forgive.
Why do you have to be nice to the head coach nowadays?
Because I think it's just one of those things where the league is different now. It's not 2 days. It's not ground and pound. It's not like taking away players' meals during a flight trip home if they lost, like when Jimmy Johnson used to do that to the Cowboy players. I think
come
the
on, the
league.
Lions had to leave a note for Josh Allen not to break any tables when they had to use the locker room for the snow game.
I think this organization is very different. So I think certain players who grew up in that older, tougher, rougher NFL, just not a lot of them can put themselves and their ego aside and just be the kind of coach that you would have to be in a league like this. Like, I
I don't
think a
understand
couple
why you can't be mean to your players if they're not performing to your level.
It's just society in general. I think again, I work in a school, you know, and discipline and things like that is far different than it was years ago. For some reason in society, no matter where you are, sports as
I know
well.
I went to a Catholic school and I write right-handed, but I
but
play
like
sports left-handed.
Adam, the last really tough coach that just did
Joe,
not
you
give a
might get
damn.
that one, huh?
I not yet, but I will.
But Adam,
Oh,
like the
the
last
nun wouldn't let you left-handed because I thought you were like evil.
Oh,
Adam, like I feel like the last true coach that had that nasty grit about him was Bruce Arians, and we all know what happened to Bruce Arians.
mhm.
He said
Yeah,
one
Tom
too
Brady
many
made
bad.
him go away.
He said one too many bad things about Tom Brady, and he got shoved up into the upper offices of Tampa to never be seen again. And then he made that one comment on like one podcast or whatever afterwards, calling out Tom Brady's play, and you really, really, really never heard of Bruce Arians since those comments came out again. It's just like Bruce was like the last guy who would just tell you what like it is, and he wouldn't give a damn whose feelings he hurt. He wanted results, and I just
See, I like that fire. I like
Yeah.
them kind of people.
The league needs more of that, but unfortunately, it's not going to happen just because of where we are overall in life and society today. Again, I would love to see those fiery coaches, you know, make impacts on teams, you know, and a player,
Job, Bill Cowher.
right? You know, that just because a guy's a millionaire doesn't mean you can't, you know, rip into him and light a fire under him. But it's just again, it's too bad. But you're not going to see coaches like that anymore. I don't
even
think.
Tom Coughlin got kicked out of Jacksonville the second time around when he tried going back to his old ways. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just not with the way the player association handles certain topics. I don't think it's feasible for any of those type of personalities to A, land a job, or B, keep that job, because they're so against that kind of treatment of players,
Mm-hmm.
which I
Every
think is
sport is like that.
crazy, because I rather them fight to get rid of turfs. I'd rather have them fight over the way concussions are handled. I'd rather them fight for all of these more important issues, but they're fighting over practices and coaching and what
Mhm.
I feel is a bunch of nonsense, but it's just my personal opinion.
I agree.
I don't understand why you don't let the doctors and shit handle concussions and you know.
But
I
supposedly,
understand. Like concussions have come a long, long way. I mean, I remember when Heinz Ward called out Ben Roethlisberger for saying, "Hey, I don't feel right on Saturday," and they had all of a sudden Charlie Batch had to learn the handbook to play the Ravens the next day. I mean, Heinz Ward called him out for it.
no, but I feel like these teams, you get in trouble for speaking up. You know, like with the Miami situation, right? Like supposedly after the first two, like because Tua had 2 in 4 days, right? And then he had that thing where he his hand spasms and everything else. He had to be carted off. They rewrote the rules, and they said that they were supposed to have like 2 spotters on every quarterback, right? They're supposed to watch the quarterback if they got hit on the head too roughly, if their head bounced on the turf, if it
But just
but
like
all these
Brandon
different
said,
things. But
or I mean Chase, I'm sorry.
all over Twitter, you see this one play where his head bounced off the field, and that's why everyone keeps saying that was the play where he got the concussion. And Tua himself said he wasn't even right, and it's just it took till people got outraged again online for them to say, "Oh yeah, by the way, Tua has another concussion. We're gonna put him in the protocol." And then it took like 3 days after that for them to finally say, "Yes, we're gonna handle this correctly. Tua's not gonna play. Teddy Bridgewater is gonna play the Patriots, I believe they're playing this week.
I'm
So
not sure.
I think so.
it really really pisses me
Joe
off
would have a
that
better outlook on who they play because they're in that division. I know. I keep cutting you off. I know.
it really pisses me off that this is such an important issue, and it feels like it becomes like that flash in the pan where it makes a bunch of press for like a few days in the news cycle, and then just it goes away again. And then you have to wait for something worse to happen for it to be addressed again.
Well, just remember the NFL is playing flag football for a reason to see if people watch it or how many people are intrigued by it because they're trying to get away from all the fun loving talk of people getting smashed
Oh, my
and
Lord.
hit and everything else. They're
I
putting
blame Drew
flag
Brees for that.
football. They're putting flag football into this for a reason. There's no other reason for it. They want to see what kind of reaction the people give.
Hmm.
I
And
really
that's
believe they're just doing that so that way they can say, look,
well,
oh,
so
we're not
there's
just doing a bunch of throwing contests, because the people hated that last year. Where it was like trying to dunk somebody and throwing balls through hula hoops on suspension wires, a bunch of weird stuff.
no the game last year was a disaster. They were playing two-hand touch out there last year.
Hmm.
It was
I wouldn't know
horrible.
because again,
Wasn't
I've
last
never watched the Pro Bowl.
wasn't last year like the year where like everybody from the first and second teams all decided not to show up, and they had to like get like third or fourth guys
What do
to
you think
go
it's going to be
there?
this year? You think guys are going to want to go play flag fucking football?
Guys who want to make a
No. That's
payday,
shit you go
yes.
watch your kids play on a Saturday morning at a gymnasium somewhere because it's freezing outside and you want to see your kid play football, just not full contact yet.
I
Mhm.
just think you don't want to talk about your Steelers.
Oh, we're done talking about the Steelers. It's a good game. George Pickens caught the big pass at the end of the game.
Okay, so I just have one last question then. What do you think of the last interception now being called the immaculate interception by
Well, he caught it at the
all
top
the
of the
social
ball.
media people?
He caught it at the top of the ball, so he caught it just like Franco did. I
So
mean,
you
whether
don't
he
mind
caught
that
it
they're
or
calling it
not,
the
we're never.
immaculate
Well,
interception?
now he really took that to the grave. So we're never gonna know. Just saying, but he did catch it by the top, so it was pretty cool to see. Actually, if you watched it, he caught it at the point. It was because he almost missed that ball. Like it was like Franco was there, like holding it in place for him.
Didn't Chandler Jones also leave that game injured?
Who?
Chandler Jones?
Which game?
The Steelers game on Christmas Eve.
Oh, just that one. Yeah, that I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember seeing the injury report. I know Derek Carr got his feelings hurt.
Yeah, he left the team today.
Derek Carr left the team?
Oh yeah, he parted ways with the Raiders. What does it say? Benched Carr to step away from Raiders. So they said it would be best, since he's not starting now, that he's not a distraction, and he's away from the team, probably for the rest of the year.
Wow. That's
So
gonna
talk about you
go.
getting your feelings hurt. Not only did he get his feeling hurt, but now he's walking away.
And they pissed off Devontae Adams.
He's walking away, but still getting paid. He's not
Right.
not too shabby of a
Sin.
deal.
No, he's getting paid a lot more than we are.
Hi, Sin.
Derek Carr, if you want to come on the podcast, buddy, come on. We got time. You got time now. Oh, hey,
Oh
son.
my goodness.
We got time.
Do we have to talk about the Colts
Oh, I
game?
didn't even see. I missed this comment. I didn't even see that. I don't even know. Were we talking about the Niners in this conversation that Debbie's on?
she was talking about me mentioning how I prefer 54 and 57 over 52 and 53. And I felt like it was blasphemous to say, especially around her, but it's just how I feel.
Gotcha. All right. Yes, I mean, I'm excited they got the win. Obviously, it gave life in Pittsburgh all of a sudden. Foster.
It got you
Um,
closer to the beloved over 500
The
streak.
500 mark. I was going to say you still got a shot
oh
at that, right?
God, can we not like? Okay, all right. The mediocrity, the city of mediocrity.
Oh, Adam,
This,
we love you.
the city of mediocrity. That's what we've become. Why'd they do that? What do we? I have no idea what she's. I have no idea what we are talking about here with our guest. Why'd they do that? Why they do what?
I don't know. I'm trying to follow the chat on the phone while I'm talking to you guys.
All right, Melissa, you get us up on that, and me and Joe can talk about the next great game since we already talked about the Dolphins game. The other great game, Joe, on Sunday was the Broncos.
Okay. Wait, quick.
Oh, go ahead.
Since so the Raiders are highly strapped cash, and they're saying one of the reasons why they wanted to bench Carr wasn't his on off play. It's more to not have to pay him out the incentives in his deal in case he gets injured.
Mm.
So that's one of the major reasons why he got benched. It's just they're so strapped for cash, they don't even want to ever in danger having to have to pay out all those injured incentives in his contract.
Got it.
So that's the main reason why he's being benched right now.
Oh, so it's like a baseball move, Joe.
Right.
Hey, you're close to your incentives. We're gonna kind of
So
put
you
on
can
the
sit out
bench.
the next few. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, they signed Devontae Adams to that huge deal, and Devontae Adams went through all that nonsense with Aaron Jones making them wait and all the other
You
crap
sure it wasn't
about.
because of this comment by
Right.
Sim
'Cause
here? They saw Bosa coming.
I mean, it could be, but I really feel like it's about the money thing because they don't even have enough money to be able to get rid of McDaniels and pay Gruden and then pay the next coach and still have to pay Rich Bisaccia, who was the interim coach. Like they're just like really stuck the way the Rams never seem to be able to be, even though they keep breaking the cap magically. But yeah, I feel like I understand why you bench Carr. You have the excuse that he's playing poorly, that you don't want to risk injury, that you want to be able to move him somehow and get some kind of compensation for him. But at the end of the day, you still have Devontae Adams there long term, and he said that the only reason why he was in Vegas was for his buddy Carr, and now he's so pissed off, and he's had a really rough year where he's barely been used or gotten even up to like 10 even possible catches, not even like 10 actual catches in certain games. I feel like it was the dumbest move in the world that they could have done. Like you just pay the money if an injury happens. Like you don't piss off that last thing that you have there that's going to be there long term.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave up a fortune for Devontae Adams. So
Of course.
I don't see the wisdom in that move.
They did not give up as much as this Denver team gave up for Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
one's a receiver, one's a quarterback, and
Doesn't matter. They still gave
One
up
has-
way
one has-
more than Denver's
one
ever
has a
going to
s-
be.
one has a Super Bowl ring and made another appearance, and the other one's never even been to a Super Bowl. It's
Yeah, one of the
very, very
guys-
different.
one of the guys that was on earlier said exactly what I was going to say about this, and just the shock for me is just how far Russell Wilson has fallen, not only as
Oh my
a
goodness.
quarterback but as a person. Again, this is a guy that in the past people would rally around, that would be the team leader, and people were like, magnetized to him. Now, everybody, he repels everybody. I mean, it's just, as a person, just the team doesn't like him. The team doesn't respect him. He's just gone from one of the most highly respected and liked players in the league to exactly the opposite of that.
Does anyone
I don't
feel
know
it could
how it
be
happened.
Sierra that did this to him, made him this way?
I
This came up as a conversation in Pittsburgh today. I was listening as I
They
was
said
driving
that
around. This came
they
up as a
said he was.
conversation.
They said that he
Good
was this
question.
way ever since the Super Bowls, and that was before Sierra.
Okay. Yeah, I maybe partially, but I don't have an answer to it. So
I think she took it and she took whatever spark was there and she made it a full blown inferno.
Mhm.
But they said even like in the Super Bowl week, like Sherman and Lynch had to go like through his entire team of assistants just to get a phone call with him. They're gonna call back. And they had no reason to lie about that stuff like years later. So
Mhm.
as much as I have issues with both of those players, I tend to agree that this is a long-standing issue. Like all that stuff about Antonio Brown, I feel like was swept under the rug for years, and then when things finally fell apart with the team and the player, all the dirty laundry is coming out.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
what really shocks me though is that the Rams, with so many injuries, put up 50 points on that defense. Like that defense just was like, we don't care anymore. We're not going to play.
That's it. They quit, and they're playing against another team that quit, and they're still losing by
Debbie's on my
37
page
points.
here.
Yeah, I mean it could be. I think partially, maybe not entirely.
No,
But
that started when he had his team leak out all the teams he wanted to be traded to, and how it was the non-quiet secret that she wanted to be in a big city like New York or LA or something else where it would be easier for her career.
mhm.
And I feel like she's the opposite of Giselle Bundchen, where like, Giselle Bundchen put her career on hold, she put her aspirations on hold, she stayed at home with the kids, and she made it easier for her partner. And I feel like Sierra is the opposite. She just is enjoying the high life and everything else, and they're just a very toxic pairing that kind of brings out the worst in each other.
Mhm. Yeah, that could be. But yeah, that's bad. Like I said, you're playing a team that's quit as well, and you're losing by 37 points. That's when you know things are at, like rock bottom,
When you're getting blown out by Baker Mayfield
right?
and Cam Akers has 3 touchdowns and
Has he had three
Tyler
touchdowns all year?
Higbee coming out of nowhere, waking up here, looking like a tight end that was a good tight end a couple years ago.
Stupid
Yeah.
phone.
What, 94 and 2 touchdowns? I think it's going to stay here in a minute across the bottom.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
this
mean,
dog. Sorry, he keeps laying on the wire and yanking it with his paws. I don't know.
but I mean,
I'm
yeah.
happy for the Ram fans. Like they had a rough year, and
Yeah.
they might be obnoxious, most of them, but I do know
What's
this
up,
one
Johnny?
Ram fan who's really nice, who covers the Rams, USC, UCLA, and the Chargers. And so I'm happy for him, but it's just like I think Denver's been this way for a really long time. I'm not shocked that Nathaniel Hackett ended up fired after this game. And it's just I'm really shocked that DJ Jones and the rest of them have held up under such scrutiny for so long and played so dominant for so long, and then now it's just they're finally like, we can't handle this anymore. We're like killing ourselves to keep these teams under like 13 points, and you still can't score enough to help us win games. It's like it's that bend before break thing,
Yeah, you can't blame the defense at all. This
No.
Denver defense is pretty stellar. And when this offense is putting up miserable 13, 14 points, I think they averaged 16 a game, I think I saw. And it
Right.
might have went down after this game, obviously. But that's awful. That is freaking awful.
Yeah. You should be
And
a Super Bowl contender with a defense like that.
Did you see that clip of him on the
Baltimore Ravens,
sideline?
what, 9 points a game?
Right.
Did you see that clip of him on the sideline crouched on in like a with like in a frog position, and he has like the ball, and he's like putting up the ball and trying to like talk to all his offensive linemen, and not one of them pays him a lick of attention. They just all blow him off.
No, I
Like
didn't see that.
Well,
I don't
It's getting
I
bad.
I don't think I've seen like I'm used to like the blow ups and like the fights on the sideline, like a Jalen Ramsey pulls or something like that. But I don't think I've ever seen an entire team shut somebody out like that since Jason Garrett in that last like cowboyish game where he went to like, slap hands with everybody and everyone just walked right past him and they wouldn't even let him touch them because I was just so fed up with Jason Garrett. Like it's astounding the way that you saw the cracks all season long, but it feels like in the last couple of weeks it completely fell apart.
It has.
Well, you get the whole team pumped that you're a Super Bowl contender in the preseason before that even, and then you get this garbage,
Right.
and it's hard to watch. It really is. Anyway, we're gonna move on to the very last game, the Monday night game, which we love talking about Tom
Yay.
Brady on this show for some
course.
unknown reason.
Do we, or we just have this
I was being a smartass,
irrational
of course.
fear that he's gonna make it into the playoffs and just be a pain in the butt for much longer
they're
than any
still
of us would
dangerous
want?
every time.
Yeah.
It's still I don't care. It's still Tom Brady. It's still a name you have to know. He knows when to turn on a switch, an extra switch. Where it comes from, I have no idea. He finally has to be seeing Gazelle banging this jiu-jitsu teacher guy now. Eventually he's going to get pissed and he's going to let go, and the anger is going to come out on the field, and that other team's going to be like, what the hell just happened?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brady's the type of quarterback. If he's in the league 10 years from now, I'll still have this fear. All right.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. The difference is the AFC South does not fear him the way that the AFC East and the entire AFC feared him for 20 plus years.
That's
Okay,
because
well-
he's 100 years old right now. But
No. I understand that, but it's just when the
Melissa,
Saints.
we're talking about coming out of this divorce drama. Eventually, it's
get
all
it.
gonna snap, and it's gonna and everyone's gonna be like, shit.
Yeah.
I get it, but I've also
And
seen
it's a
him.
matter of when Tom Brady puts it together, because it took a while for me to fucking say I got to get this shit together here and get
No,
back to
but-
focus on life. I went through divorce. I know.
But I also.
And I don't
I
care
also
what team you're on. We watched
I-
Tom Brady turn Julian Edelman's into fucking great receivers. Troy Brown's into great receivers.
Mhm.
We've seen Scotty, all of a sudden, Scotty Miller even. No one would hear of this guy if he was on any other team.
Okay, I get all that. I'm just saying I've seen Tom Brady a lot this year, whether it was against the Niners themselves or other teams. And there's just been some severe disconnects. They can't protect him the way they used to. And that defense is just so unhealthy and so, I don't know, not playing hard enough for Todd Bowles. For some reason, I don't see them the way that they used to be seen, like as this legitimate threat where you had to not sleep on the Buccaneers.
And as I said before, you're 1,000% right about all of that.
I get it. I'm just saying,
Tom
you guys,
Brady factor.
you guys are both haunted by the specter that was Tom Brady in the NFC, and I'm an NFC fan, so I didn't really have that. So maybe that's the reason why.
I would love
But-
to come on this. Oh, I'm sorry. I would love to come on this show a month from now and just say, thank God. But,
You know what? You guys could be absolutely correct, and I'll have to eat crow. But I'm just saying, at this point, I would say that the scarier of the two burnt out quarterbacks that could still make the playoffs for me would be Aaron Rodgers over Tom Brady.
Okay.
I'm just saying, this divorce is a dangerous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I respect your opinion.
You know,
I'm not going to try to change your mind.
NFL playoffs too, all it takes is 4 lucky games. You know, these teams could play 17 games of mediocrity, which they're doing, but you have
Mhm.
4 excellent team games where all of a sudden these guys that underproduced all year step it up, and all of a sudden you're in the Super Bowl. So, you know, again, are the chances of that happening high? No. Do I pray that they don't happen? Yes. But again, I've seen this movie 100 times, and there's a good chance. Who knows? You know, it's
Now, what I was most shocked about in this game was Trace McSorley in that very beat up Cardinals game, or Cardinals team almost still beat the Buccaneers in this game.
Mhm.
Like it really did come down to the wire, and I think that's the other thing that's been most shocking about these Brady games, that so many of them come down to the wire. And you know, there are certain teams when they face them, and you expect that last minute, you know, Tom Brady savior thing that you were so used to for like 20 plus years. But
Mhm.
it was like the Saints, and it was like tied, I think 13-13. You just knew he was somehow going to win that game, right? It wasn't going into
Right.
overtime. But then there are other weeks where it's just he gets shut out, or barely gets like 7 points on the board, or just 3 points on the board. And it's just like him and Mike Evans are like dropping completely wide open passes, and it just I don't know. I get that the Cardinals still have something to play for. They have that pride thing that we were talking about, and respect and wanting to do well, and maybe make a name for themselves or have something to spark their year next year. It's just
Mhm.
how hard and how far they've fallen, and how below 500 he is. I don't see somehow magically making the playoffs is going to change Tom Brady in this Tampa team.
Okay, and I was surprised too. I saw the Buccaneers winning this game by about 10, so I was surprised that it was an overtime game and it was that close. And you know, I agree. I've never seen Tom Brady look so lost in games. You know, you see him on the
And that's
sideline.
including him putting up the 4 fingers last year, where he lost completely what down he was on against the Chicago Bears, Nick
Right.
Foles. So
He's looked more clueless than I've ever seen him. You know,
he just looks tired. Like it's not fun anymore.
right?
Like
But
for the first time, it feels like a job to him, and it's just he doesn't have that same obnoxious Tom Brady spark where they get that magical stop on the last play, and then he's like jumping for joy, and he's like screaming at the top of his lungs, and he looks like a little tiny 18-year-old who just won his first like college championship or whatever. Like that
Listen, he
spark
just
is
he
gone.
just found out that his ex-wife is banging a jitsu guy, man.
Okay,
yeah,
and he's like dating like a 23-year-old. Like it's not like he hasn't moved on himself.
but usually, you know, I don't know what divorce is like, but I do know. Again, a fire. He knows how to motivate himself for whatever reason, and so stay tuned in a few weeks, and things might be different. You know, I hope not, but we'll see what happens. I mean, they're going to have a tough game. I mean, probably. I think I looked at it today. If the season ended today, they'd be playing Dallas, even
Okay,
though the
so
game would be in Tampa.
Yeah, they've been playing the Giants 4-5,
They'd be,
I
they'd be
have
tough.
and
a really
Go ahead.
important question for you guys. Who do you think is more likely to win out against the division and make the playoffs? The Packers or the Buccaneers? 'Cause that's what they have to face the rest of the year. Two
Well, definitely.
teams that have potential playoffs, or in the case of the Vikings, absolutely have playoffs already sealed up for them. But they have a shot to knock out that thorn in their side that's been the top of their division. So, who do you think is more likely to overcome that mountain, Tom or Aaron?
Definitely. I think just because of the way the division is, you
Hmm.
know, Buccaneers, just because that division is awful.
So,
You
you think
know,
he's gonna beat the Panthers and the Saints?
yes.
Okay.
I think the Packer and the Bucks are both going to the playoffs.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers go to the playoffs. I mean, they're not. I'd be shocked if they won the division.
But I'm not ready. I'm not ready to see that yet. You know, we got 2 more weeks of football to go.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of scenarios, which makes it good.
See, my worry is that the Giants and the Commanders are going to fall apart, and the Seahawks are going to get it. And I don't want to see the Seahawks in the playoffs.
Yeah, which could happen. But I
I
think
kind of
thought,
want to see. I kind of want to see the Seahawks just so they can rub it in the Broncos' face.
yeah,
Like we're getting a first round pick, maybe
Oh my
even the first
goodness.
overall pick because you guys suck and we're in the playoffs.
right.
Who doesn't want to
Uh,
see that? I mean, that'd be
I
funny
think-
as all can be.
I think the best that they can have right now, I think, is the third overall pick because they still have the Texans and the Bears in front of how bad the Broncos are. Like, as bad as they are, they're still not the top two worst teams. Which is weird to say, but it's just where
Yeah,
it
it'll
is, you
still be
know?
a very high pick, though.
But yeah, like, congratulations to JJ Watt and that defense. You played really hard at the end, and now everyone's getting to talk about you fondly and trying to ask the age-old question: Are you a top 5 defensive player of all time? Are you? What was your favorite JJ Watt memory? So hopefully, at least Hard Knocks goes off on a happy note because it's been really abysmal to try to watch that in-season Hard Knocks lately. Have either of you checked that out at all?
I haven't watched any. I've never watched the Hard Knocks.
No, neither have I.
Sorry, I forgot that Adam
I
doesn't
I
have
barely
HBO.
have time to watch the news. I barely have time to watch. I don't even have like if I catch another person's podcast listening throughout the day, I feel good about myself.
I was gonna say I work 2 jobs. It's like I'd love to spend all day watching it, but even now I'm off this week, thinking, oh, now I'm gonna catch up on all my sports. I still haven't had a chance to do. Of course,
All
my
of a sudden, there's honey to do list, ain't there, Joe?
yeah, about 40 inches of snow outside to try to get rid of. That's been my job for the last 4 days.
What do you like? What do you do? What do you like? How do you even move that kind of shit?
Prayer works a lot, because it's even too much for the snowblower, so it's just little bits and pieces, just
What do you
like
do? Do you just shovel like take off the top layer and then go back and try and
The
like,
good
honey, I
bit-
found concrete finally.
yeah. The silver lining in this is that because it was so cold as well. We had the wind chill was like minus 25 or something. So because of that, it was I could blow it with my mouth and half of it's going to, it was very easy to move. So it's just shovel, an hour and a half out, come inside for an hour and a half, then go back out and spend another hour and a half outside and just eventually get it done, But then, you get 30 inches of snow and you go to bed thinking, oh, finally I got it done. And then you find out there's another 8 inches that came overnight. It's like, are you serious? It's like, and let's start over again. And that happened for 2 days, 3 days.
Now,
in a
when you
row.
guys get that much snow, do you get that thing where it goes snow, rain, snow, and then you get like ice in between? Or is it just
That's
like
happened-
all snow
was-
and
ice before? I've never heard of this before. A flash freeze. Like it was 45 degrees at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then by 9 o'clock, it was 20. So we had gotten a lot of rain overnight and it all froze before the snow even got here. But there was so much snow on the ground that ice didn't even make a difference. It was just, we had 70 mile an hour winds.
Do you do that too, Joe? If you know it's going to rain, do you not even like shovel your driveway because you know the ice is going to be worse to clean off?
If we're getting 4 inches of snow or 6 inches of snow, maybe. But when you're getting 30 or 40, you got to kind of get ahead of it. And just like, I went out the one day, we had gotten like 1.5 feet and there was another 1.5 feet coming. But still, it's like, that, but you have to get rid of that other 1.5 feet. So I'm not shoveling 3 feet at a time. I'm only doing 1.5 feet at a time,
Now,
only a foot.
Can I ask you a question? You guys are used to a lot of snow, right? Like, that's just one of those things. But No, I'm being serious. But living close to a lake, you're used to the lake effect. You're in Upper New York. It's just like a thing that you guys live with. It's like living in Utah by the mountains. You're used to lots and lots of snow, right? So my question is, the way it's handled, like by like the towns and like the municipalities,
Hmm.
do they like actually clean out the streets, or do like they half-ass it?
No, the snow removal service, and first of all, Pittsburgh probably gets half the snow Buffalo gets. They don't get a
Mhm.
lot of that lake effect as far as I know, but
Occasionally we do.
okay. But the cleanup here, whether we get 6 inches or a foot or a blizzard like this,
Mhm.
is top notch. I mean, they know what they're doing. And again, as a teacher, of course, you want the snow day and stuff. There's times we've gotten a foot of snow and we got school the next day just because they're so efficient and they're so, it's so
I,
part of life here.
I wanted to know if it was different for like you guys, because it's just I
Yeah.
live in Jersey. I live in Jersey, right? So I'm not like close to any body of water. I'm not like in South Jersey where I'm close to the ocean or something.
Hmm.
But whenever we have snow here, it's a constant issue where you shovel, you shovel, and then you go to bed thinking you're safe and you can go out and not be endangered. And then somebody then throws all their snow in the middle of the street, and then they don't even cover the side streets. They just
Hmm.
clear out the main streets, like the ones that connect all the side streets, and then they leave everything else. So then you're on ice constantly, and you constantly feel like you're gonna like go into someone's front yard and like lose control of your car. And you can't even move 3 houses down. So I was just wondering if it's just like one of those things where it's everybody, or is it just different in certain areas where they take snow removal more seriously?
Yeah, I mean, in general, like I said, it's very good here. In the city of Buffalo, there's issues sometimes as far as side streets taking days to get removed. If we have a
Yeah.
big storm. Again, I'm in a suburban area, so
Same with
uh,
me. I live like in a little like not exactly like cul-de-sac, but like 4 or 5 streets where they're not near any of the main roads, and they just have
mhm,
one side street that has like a lot of traffic.
mhm. Yeah,
So
the
usually the
suburb.
side streets are cleared, but the main actual places where people live aren't really cleared out that well.
No, the fact that it's 5 days later from the worst snowstorm in a snowy city's history, and I'm at Walmart, I think that's pretty impressive.
I'm just grateful that you weren't one of those people that got stuck trying to be on those roads in that dangerous area, because that broke my heart when I saw those people who froze to death on the side of the road when their car broke down and there was just
Mhm.
nobody there to even try to help them.
Right. Yeah, they couldn't get there, So yeah, it is sad, but it's you get through it and life goes on. And again, the Florida reservations are being set.
And hopefully
You're really gonna go, aren't you?
the
Oh, I'm
Bills
ready
heat
now.
up and seal that number one seat for you.
I think it's going to happen.
Who do you have for the rest of the year?
We got the Bengals this week, and then the
I
Patriots.
know that one. Oh, so it's the
Patriots are
Patriots you
here.
end the year on?
Hmm.
I can see you guys going maybe 1-1, if I'm being
Right.
honest.
I wouldn't be surprised if they lost to the Bengals because it's at Cincinnati. They're fighting for spots. They're fighting for a division as well. So, and seeding and stuff. So that's going to be a tough game.
It's nothing against your team. It's just the way that Jamar Chase is finally back. Joe Mixon's
Mhm.
finally getting his groove back. Higgins and Boyd are kind of getting their groove back. That offensive line finally clicking.
Mhm.
DJ Reader and that defense are like being this dominant force like out of nowhere. I think that's gonna be one of those like really grisly games that's gonna come down to like whoever has the ball last or whoever just doesn't show up on one side of the ball. Like it's either going to
Right.
be a nail biter or it's going to be a blowout because somebody just doesn't show up that day. Like it's just like could be one or the other. I think it's just going to be one of those games like that's going to be like forever remembered.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. and I guess we'll soon find out.
You gotta hate that as a Bills fan, though. Like, you guys get so much credit. You got the quarterback, you got the defense, and then you keep getting these like nail biters that like have to add like so much stress, and you're like just wishing that it would end or at least not be so
Right.
hit or
I mean,
miss or down to the last second.
that's why we watch sports, though. You know. So yeah, I agree with you, and there's some where it's like they should have the game wrapped up and they don't. But again, that's why we watch sports, right?
Yeah.
That's why I watch sports. All about the drama.
Yeah,
God.
I love how your sarcasm just hits like completely. Oh man.
But I think
This is
we're
fun.
ready to wrap it up today, kids. It has been 2 hours and 55 minutes and 58 seconds.
All right, great show.
We had a good show today. I'm really excited.
And I would really
Melissa,
want to thank.
we cut it down an hour, so we're getting somewhere in life.
I don't know if we cut it down an hour, but at least
Well, the
it
first
was
one we
nice.
did, Joe, it went 4.
Wow.
So we've been
Okay,
trying to
but
figure out a way to still bring enough guests
okay,
on and have a good
we
time where we
we
can get
we
it
kind of
under.
forced it where we had like 8 people on, and then like
Mhm.
4 of them would like disappear in the first hour.
Okay.
And then we felt like we had to like talk about every game for like 20 minutes, and then we kept like coming up with questions because Adam would be like, "Does anyone else have anything out of this game?" And then we're like, "No." And then he's
Yeah.
like, "Does anyone else have to say anything about this game?" And we're like, "Okay, fine. How do you think of this situation?" And then we go like off in like tangents for like 30 plus minutes, and it just
Yeah.
it,
So
so it
we're
we got
getting
to
there.
this point. We
That's
got
good.
to this point where like we're gonna identify the games that should be talked about. We got to this point where we got to the games that nobody ever wants to talk about, and we're just gonna have like 2 topics, and we can still have our tangents, but it won't go like crazy long, like where everyone's like falling asleep and like being like, "Why are these people still talking?"
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I'd like to thank our commenters on the YouTube channels for commenting. I thank you very much. Thank you for sticking around and sticking with us.
Miss
Joe,
Debbie, I'm
Debbie,
so thankful for
Sin,
you,
John
Sin,
V,
John V, everybody. And
someone
if you
on
guys can
Twitch.
just
Someone on Twitch jumped in today, but they were just looking to promote the channel more. That was a fun. I read that one. I wasn't sharing it because it was like 8 pages long.
if you guys can just permit me to give you like 2 seconds more of drama before you go not live anymore. Miss Debbie surprised me with these Christmas gifts that I just want to show off real quick because she's
Oh, you got it
she
from
watches
Debbie?
it. Yes. Okay, so I had a conversation with her about my love for the Niners and Disney's being my 2 like great loves in the world, and they are. She completely like blew me away with this stuff, and
Are you putting on like a bunny suit?
God no, ew, this is not a Christmas story.
Like a niner suit?
No, it's not even about the Niners. It's just I was so emotional. I couldn't even like take a picture of it or make a video without sounding like a screeching mess. So I finally have 2 reasons why I'm not going to get really emotional constantly here. So I think this is like the only time I can actually show off what she got me without like sounding like a severely dementia person. So I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. So I told her a couple days ago, I used to have this collectible my dog destroyed in his fit of rage because my dogs fight a lot. So I described it to her, and she couldn't find the original, but she sent me this instead. This statuette of Belle and Beast from the Christmas version of Beauty and the Beast. And then the day before, she sent me a bunch of I don't know if you guys can see this one. She sent me a bunch of Disney pins, and there's like a whole nother bag full of them. And so I wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sending me something so beyond precious to me. And thank you for two of the most amazing things I've ever received as a present, let alone one of the most special Christmases for me. So thank you.
All right. So are those Disney pens from California? Debbie's in California, right? So it's from that one, right?
I don't know where she got this stuff, honestly. The crazy part is I have a huge collection of Disney pins, and I think 2 at most are duplicates. I know the one Jasmine one is, and
Never
I think
mind. Looks like Debbie's still with us.
one of the Star Wars ones was, and other than that, no, everything else is brand new. I've never seen them before, and it's just, I really,
She
I
said
cannot
you're
tell
so
you.
welcome. Is
I cannot tell you how much I was so thankful I opened both things above my bed, because if I had not, it would have shattered everywhere. I was that emotional and blown away with what she did. So yeah, she's
sweet.
just one of the best people you will ever meet.
Joe, there's
Oh,
still
and
good people in this world.
There definitely are, for sure.
And she sent me a Top Hat Deb pin, which I think is probably my favorite gift of all. It's this little pin right here that represents her and the top hat that she wears all the time, with pins from all the different Niner things that she collects, which I think is one of the coolest things ever.
That's cool.
So
Well, thank you, Deb.
thank you, Niner family, for tuning in and watching us just talk a bunch of nonsense. And Joe, this was a lot of fun that you stayed with us all the way to the bitter end, because it's usually just me and Adam at this point.
All right. Well, glad I did. Thank you.
Joe, I think we're gonna do a free agency talk soon too. So I don't know if you'd want to jump in on that with your Mets making a lot of moves.
Sounds good. Count me in. We'll see if those moves actually go through.
Yeah, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to get I don't want to get too amped, and then all of a sudden
Right.
it gets shit on. So I was gonna do one soon, and then I was letting like all the comments came up saying, "Oh, I don't know," and I'm like, I'm not even touching this shit.
All right.
You know what I mean?
At the right time.
All right, Evan made one more video, and I'm gonna use it. It says it's an intro video, so I haven't seen it yet, but it is. NFL.
And Happy New Year's to you both, and best of luck this weekend.
You as well.
Oh yes, Happy New Year's. I don't think we're doing it. Well, I know I am. I got Ravens coming up here. Oh, but we'll see if Matt feels better. But anyway, I am gonna play this last video made by Evan. It says it's for the holiday, but it's for the intro. So my outro is still saying "repping with G." So I didn't have a chance to fix it yet, but I fixed everyone else's, and I keep forgetting to fix mine. So that's why we're gonna do an intro if it is an intro. If not, everybody, I am Sports Talking It, and you can follow me on Twitter. Remember to subscribe the page there. I said it. I never say that. Anyway. Anyway, guys, Happy New Year. I got a Ravens show coming up either Friday, it looks like now, because Matt's sick. So
And John V, if you are still watching, Adam is a Pirates, but he's also a Guardians fan, and they love to talk about the Cleveland Guardians. So if you feel like you want to talk about the Cleveland Guardians, they have shows about the Cleveland Guardians.
He knows. He knows.
I was just reminding him because he is a Cleveland fan. So
I gotta find out what happened to Evan too. But anyway, guys, we're out.
All right.
bye, everybody.